All right, we're live. Welcome to another episode of the 10 Horse Money YouTube channel. Tuesday night live. We switched from Monday to Tuesday. This is like third week?
Second week.
Second week, something like that. And we're in a new location. I'm actually at my father-in-law's house. My house is right across the field. It's about 5 acres away, and our internet is still crappy over there. But we're slowly making our way from my old house to my new house. So we went from A to B, and then we're gonna hopefully make it to C.
We made the longest trip over.
At least I can see my house right now. So we're working through things.
It's
crazy.
It's closer for you to get to your bed now.
It is. I don't have a 10-minute drive. So. It's I mean, moving out in the country is nice, but you do lose a few amenities that you have living in the town, and unfortunately, good internet service has kind of been something we've been battling.
Cody, you don't have great internet service either at your place, I bet.
No, dude, I live in the middle of nowhere. Internet out there.
Yeah, they bring the internet to my house in buckets. So
yeah,
and it ain't very fast, I promise.
Do you got satellite internet at your place, or what kind of internet service you provided?
So we just got actually like a couple months ago. We just got what's it called? It might be U.S. Cellular, and it's all right. It's not too bad. It's better than a guy would think, but that's the only one we had. We tried to get it at a bunch of different places, and they said they couldn't provide it that far out. And for some reason, this one kind of finally works a little bit.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with out here. My father-in-law has Spectrum, which is really good internet, and we're literally, like I said, I'm looking at my house right now. But the junction box is in front of his house, and for them to run it to my house, it's going to be 1,500, almost 200, or almost 2,000 feet of coaxial, and $18,000 by the time they trench it over there. And
I don't need internet that bad.
No, I'm just a letter carrier for the Postal Service. I can't afford $18,000 to dig a trench, so we're making the best out of it. We're doing what we can do.
I just get your shovel. You'll have internet one day.
Yeah, 2 years from now we'll have it over there.
He's been trying to contract me on the weekends, and I said I'm out.
Yeah, I'll feed you tacos and
I ain't digging ditches.
And beer.
Not that I'm beyond digging ditches. I'm not digging ditches though. I got them girly man hands, a little too soft for that. So
I wanted to talk about that the Oak Outdoors tournament down Table Rock. So congratulations on that. Had a couple buddies fishing that. My buddy Mike Marfell, he finished 9th, I believe, in that. So he had a top 10 finish. It was good to see him. How was the lake fishing, and then how did you pattern your fish and stuff in that tournament?
Dude, that like kind of a couple weeks there on Table Rock, it was kind of crazy. It was kind of like it all spring and summer, really, but it seemed like the quality was a lot better than average. Like I didn't get a ton of bites, but man, every time you set the hook, it would be like a 2 3/4 to like a 4.5 pounder. And I don't know. I think it's just something to do. We had several years of high water, and it just seemed like that age class of fish was really, really strong. And there's a pile of 3 and 4 pounders in there right now.
Are you noticing one species more prevalent than the other as far as quality? Is it largemouth spots or smallies, or?
Yeah, I mean, I always fish for largemouth, so I catch a few of the other ones mixed in, but yeah, every time I go, I'm pretty much always targeting largemouth. So that's pretty much what I'm talking about. I haven't caught many of the other species, really to speak of, lately.
Yeah, so that's what it takes to win. Really, is a bag of largemouth typically.
Yeah, like it would have to be really tough to win off other species. Like I've won over there in the fall. Actually, in the Toyota series that I won over there, I weighed quite a few Kentuckys and small. I think the last day I weighed all smallmouths. So it's just different kinds of fishing, different times of the year, and that early summertime just screams largemouth for me. I love chasing them around when they start to get on the brush and start to get on rock piles and stuff like that.
Is that the same with bull shows? Is it typically largemouth that went over there or not?
Yeah, it's always largemouth. I don't remember the last time that anybody won with anything else. The other ones just can't really compete. You know, you might catch 1 4-pound smallmouth here and there, but most of the time, you're not going to win unless you have 18 to 20, and it's just hard to get there with any other species in the largemouth.
Yeah, you almost got to go up north to get that kind of quality in the smallmouth.
Right. Ours are just so long and skinny. It's just.
Or Tennessee River. I mean, Tennessee River's got some decent smallmouth.
Yeah, there's been some really good stacks of smallmouth.
There's somebody on here that doesn't think you know how to fish bull shoals, though.
No, I don't.
Frank Williams.
Oh, Frank.
Frank says tell Cody he don't know how to fish bull.
I love Frank, man. You guys know Frank?
Hey, so here's the story with Frank. We grew up literally 2 houses away from each other.
Really?
He's my childhood friend. Yes, sir. We we got in all kinds of trouble when we were kids. We'd sneak in golf courses and anything that had a pond in it, we would just go fish it and ask for forgiveness later. Is that the yeah? We had a lot of fun, man. A lot of good times.
The only thing Frank's ever learned is only from Lucas Bradley. He's the only person that's ever taught Frank anything. So
he's been bumping shoulders with Dell a little bit too. I'm sure he's picking up some things with Dell.
Been trying to slide in Dell's back pocket.
Yeah, he just shows up at the boat ramp and hangs out until Dell shows up and asks him questions.
If you're going to be in somebody's back pocket on bull, I mean, Dell's not a bad character to hang around.
No, he knows.
I mean, he's goofier than a pet coon, but I mean, he is good people.
He's a good fisherman, man. He called today asking if I was fishing the Oak Outdoors deal that's on bull in August, and I can't because I'll be up north. So I'm trying to talk him into fishing it. I was like, dude, you're out there every day. You're crazy if you don't just go fish.
He doesn't fish any tournaments, though, does he?
Not very often, but I think he's getting that itch a little bit. I think he's wanting to start jumping in some stuff. Yeah,
it's good. So what do you think, the difference in being a guide and being a tournament fisherman? I mean, there's a difference. I think what do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's just it's a different mentality. You know what I mean? It's as like a full-blown tournament guy, like it's hard to turn that off when you take somebody to just go try to get bites. And, you're looking for a different kind of fish. You're just wanting to go and let somebody reel them in. And I don't know, it's really hard to just have that different mindset where you're just wanting to get bites instead of trying to figure out how to catch the biggest fish.
It's kind of like LiveScope fishing when you really spend a whole day just focusing on LiveScope. That's a totally different mindset than even putting an hour or two on LiveScope and then going to the bank for an hour or two and then sliding back out deep and jumping back and forth. You're hunting. I mean, when you're committed to that LiveScope, you're actually out there looking around and you're just hunting and looking for certain fish. And if you don't see what you need to see, you kind of keep moving on. Where kind of like a guide is, like you said, they're looking for bites.
Well, you're looking for a different class of fish too, right?
Yep.
Like tournament angler, you're looking for 5 bites, especially with the format, with the bass format. I mean, you're looking for your 5 best bites a day, and then you're going to go practice the rest of the day. Hopefully, you got a good sack of fish. But at the end of the day, that guide, that's all he cares about is putting his people on fish.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree with that. It's just so hard to make yourself. Whenever you're so used to chasing big ones, it's like, okay, let's go catch 20 Kentuckys. That'll be fun.
Right.
I won't tell him the real stuff, Frank. That's between me and you.
I see him. You guys know. He's talking about. You guys know Lucas Bradley at all? That's who he's calling Crash.
Oh, he's calling Crash. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Up everything.
No, I've heard the name, but I haven't met him yet.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But he's a doctor down. I think he works at Baxter, but he is. I mean, everything he touches, he tears up. I watched him sneaking tear the bottom out of one Vexus, and then after one of our tournaments one day, he slid one off the side of the road and then drug it all the way back to the Vexus shop on 2 wheels.
Oh Lord,
he's awesome.
How do you tear the bottom off on bull?
We were at an open at Douglas.
Okay.
Back of a pocket, and he went to plow across to the back to the other side of the pocket, hit a big rock vein and just smacked.
Mm.
It wasn't as bad as when it hit the bluff, though, whenever he was slid off the road in a snowstorm. That was the worst one.
So I'm understanding why the name Crash. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
Just in this short 1 minute conversation, it makes total sense.
Yeah, you need to ask Frank. I think some of the doctors may have gave him the nickname the Wrecking Ball too.
Frank says he's hard on boats.
Yeah, he's hard on stuff.
Ugh. So you don't let him drive your rig around? Is that what you're saying?
I would let him drive it around, but only because he's a neurosurgeon.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
You might need him one
Well,
day.
when you're wrecking boats, you probably kind of need to be a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that pros do differently than, let's say, Joes or the weekend anglers. Like some things that over the years maybe you've noticed that, you know, the guys out on tour do a little bit different than your weekend angler or your bass club angler. Are there some things that kind of stand out that you guys do a little bit different, or, you know, maybe even things that you did when you were younger and you've changed because you've learned from watching other people and just spending more time out in the lake?
Yeah, I really think that one of the biggest differences is just adjusting on the fly and not being afraid to just, you know, go find them on tournament day, because I can't tell you how many times that I've done really well in a tournament or won a tournament, and I had no idea I was going to catch them where I caught them that day. Like whenever I started, you know, when plan A doesn't work, I remember whenever I was younger, you know, like you get on something in practice and you're like, man, this is the deal. This is what I'm doing all day. And sometimes fish change. I mean, they change. Well, I say sometimes, always pretty much fish change. And that's one thing that it's probably one thing I struggle with more than anything, is just being out on the road and being in these new places. And, you know, if you're not catching them, you want to go back somewhere you caught some in practice. And a lot of times that doesn't work. You're better off just, you know, using the knowledge that you have learned in practice and just going and trying to find something else. Because, I mean, very, very rarely do I ever end up catching them in the same places in practice. So I think that's kind of probably the main difference, because you know how it is. Whenever you don't get to fish very much, you go fishing and you just want to fish. You don't spend your time looking for them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to waste time just looking for fish. And so I think that's probably the main two things, is just whenever people go to the lake and they don't get to a lot, they just want to cast, and that's not always the best thing to do. And you know, just trying to use so much stuff they find in practice instead of just looking for new stuff during the tournament.
Is it really as hard to find stuff that nobody else is fishing as what we hear people talk about? You know, you always hear they find everything. These guys find everything. Is it really that hard to find something to yourself?
It's unbelievable. It's crazy. I mean, I was the same way. Before I was in the elites, I was like, man, they're just normal guys. They're just like all the rest of us. But it's like you get out there and you're like, holy crap. Did you look at the weights it took at St. Clair to get a check?
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's ridiculous. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Well, I sent Gabe a text after day one, and dead last was 12.5 pounds.
Yeah.
With 5 fish. There was nobody that didn't weigh 5 fish in that day.
Right.
And there was like almost 40 bags that were
over
20 around 20 pounds or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's something about, you know, and a lot of those guys, I say a lot of them have been these places before and they kind of know what to expect, but yet, you know, in the same reality, a lot of them haven't. They're just so good at figuring it out on the fly that, I mean, everybody catches them every time. I mean, it doesn't matter how bad everybody whines in practice or anything like that. You show up and everybody says it sucks, and you know, there's no bass caught, and then, oh, look at that, 16 pounds is 100 plates. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you hear the guy say, I only caught 3 today. Well, he shook off 25, you know.
Exactly. There's a lot of that.
He shook off 25, and those best 25 went 25.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and, you know, St. Clair, those smallmouth are a different animal. You're looking at classes of fish. The separation between 3 1/4 and 3 1/2 and 3 1/2 and 3 3/4 and 4. When you're on that class of smallmouth, that's all you're on. You're not gonna, if you're in a school of 3 1/2, you're not gonna catch a 4 1/2 just by sheer chance. It's just gonna be 3 1/2.
Is it really like that? Is it that? Do they get locked in that tight?
I mean, it really seems like, they don't vary a ton. I mean, sometimes like it seemed like at St. Clair you could be catching some 3s and then you might catch a 5, but not very often. I've never been anywhere though where like area of the lake made such a gigantic difference in how you did in the tournament, because almost, Joey, he was the only one that caught him outside of that bay that everybody whacked him in. There was one bay that like a pile of guys got checks and made top 10 out of. And it was like those fish, they were shallower, and I think they had been done spawning for longer because I think that water got warmer faster. And it was like those fish were a lot healthier. And then, you go out on the main lake and they had spawned later and they were a lot skinnier. So you're catching the same size fish, but they weren't bulked up at all. So it was, that was kind of the biggest deal in that tournament though, was just trying to get around some fish that were healthy instead of just really sick and spawned out looking.
Yeah. So how do you feel about fish? You said a majority of the people that did really good were in one bay. Do you ever have a problem bumping elbows with everybody? I mean, I guess you kind of got to get used to that after you fish, some of these bigger tournaments.
Yeah. I mean, I used to really bad. Like I used to really, really hate it. And, I think that's why I did so bad in Florida the first several times that I went there, like at the beginning of my career, is because I wasn't going to do it. I was like, man, I'll find something on my own. But, I mean, when you've got a couple of days of practice, you don't have time for that. I mean, and honestly, the fish live in small areas. So, I mean, a lot of times you just have to learn to fish around people. I mean, and there's ways that you can do that respectfully, you know what I mean? And I think that's where some stuff goes wrong is, there's different ways to go about things, and when you're and I think it's different in different places. Like if you're at Pickwick and you pull up on somebody on a school that's not on the main channel, like that's dirty, you know what I mean? But if you're in Florida at Okeechobee and you're in this big 5-mile area and there's 50 boats in there fishing, because it's the only clean water, that's a different story.
Yeah, but there's so many more targets in that 5-mile area that you're talking about.
Right.
On Okeechobee versus there's 3 angles of that cast on Pickwick, right?
Exactly.
So
yeah, who was it? Was it the Open where the guy power pulled down and fished a 30-yard stretch for hours and hours and hours? I thought that was the Open this year. I can't remember who that was. It's been a while, but so it just shows you when you find a stretch that's got fish, they're super saturated in that grass.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's unlike anywhere I've ever been. And then you take St. Clair, for example, and honestly, you could run out in the middle of that lake with your eyes closed and stop anywhere, put your trolling motor down and look around on LiveScope for less than 5 minutes, and you're probably going to catch one. That's how lake. And they're the meanest fish I've ever seen. I've never been somewhere where they're so easy to catch. Like, you just go and you scope around. Oh, there's one. Throw your drop shot at it. It hits the water, and as soon as it hits the water, that fish is like, oh, and it'll meet your drop shot, and either you'll see your weight hang underneath his mouth, or he'll just burn it to the bottom, and you'll pick up and he'll have it every single time. Every time. I probably the whole time. I probably didn't throw at 30 fish that didn't bite.
Wow.
And like every day you catch, like on a tournament day, you probably catch 30 to 50. But like if you're out there fishing, just a fun day and fish daylight to dark, there's no telling how many you could catch.
That's a special place.
So in a place like that where you can pretty well stop, like you said, you run blind out there, stop, troll motor down, and catch them within minutes. How do you dissect that to find, instead of catching 3-pounders, how do you find 3.5, 4s, 4.5?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Zero clue.
Sheer luck, huh?
Yeah, like what I did was I said, I'm going to find as many areas that have schools of fish as I can. And it was kind of hard because these fish weren't really grouped up. Like, they weren't sitting in one spot. But you'd get an area, and then you'd see one. Then there's two, and then there's one, and then there's two. You just kind of be around it. And I was like, I'm going to find as many areas as I can, and I'm just going to set the hook on as many fish as possible. So, like, I ran around with my trolling motor on 100, and like I killed my trolling motor every day by like right at weigh-in, and because I mean I just burn around as fast as I could, and I said I'm going to throw it in front of more fish than anybody else, and luckily it worked good enough to get a check and get some points. I just never caught any great big ones. In practice, I caught a stinking 708. But I mean, of course, it was a Lone Ranger. I never caught anything in that whole area.
Did you scope that one?
Oh yeah. I was like, that's either a catfish or a really big one, and it a really big one.
Was that one just as aggressive too?
Oh yeah, dude! It didn't even get to the bottom.
Oh my gosh!
Flashed and it hurt it, and I saw it come flying straight up, and I was like, "That thing is long. What is that?" And I set the hook, and I was like, "Golly,
Oh,
it's mean."
Yeah.
Chris has got a great question here. If I can get it to pop up here, it says, "Cody, how much of a mentor has Rick Klon been to you, and what have you taught Rick?"
Man, Rick's been awesome to me. He's been that guy for me that if I ever have any questions, that's who I call. Whether it's about fishing or how you think about fishing, or, if we're going somewhere new, because I'm telling you, he's a walking wealth of knowledge. Like, he remembers every tournament on every lake that he's ever been to, and like the bait they caught him on, the area they caught him, like just what kind of lakes these different places are. And I mean, he's really helped me more than anything. Just learning to trust yourself and keeping your mind right through the whole day. Just controlling everything you can control, and everything else will just be how it'll be. But Rick likes to go out and live scope a little bit too. Like in the wintertime, we'll go crappie fishing and bass fishing, and he likes to go scope them. And he's actually a lot better at it than you would expect. It's just getting him to try to do it in a tournament. He loves winding.
Yeah, I that's one of the questions I had. I can see Rick as being someone who's adaptive. I mean, that makes sense. He doesn't seem like a stubborn guy that's going to be, hard in his ways and not adapt and change. Because I mean, to be somebody like him, you got to kind of roll with things and take advantage of the technology. Like it's pretty obvious that if you aren't embracing forward-facing technology, you're going to be left behind. I don't care how good of a fisherman you are, just naturally. It's just that's such a big player right now.
It is.
You got to have it.
Larry Nixon got a check at St. Clair, and I was fishing around him some, and he was out there just living and dying by it, just scoping around, flipping his drop shot at fish, and he's just reeling them in.
Well, in a place like that, though, it makes it easier, though, right? Like,
dude, I'm telling you, like if I could go back tomorrow, I would. It was one of the most fun places I've ever been. Like I've been to the St. Lawrence River and all that, and it's good. Ontario's good. Like you catch a lot of fish and you catch a lot of big fish, but they seem like they're smarter than those St. Clair fish. Those St. Clair fish are just dumb as a box of rocks. I mean, it's so fun. I got down one day and I was like, I'd already caught so many, and I was like, I want to pick up a crankbait and throw it at the ones I see. And you can pick up, a DT10 and burn it by the ones you see on LiveScope, and they'll bite a crankbait. They don't care. I was like, this place is ridiculous.
It sounds like going to Canada. Some of those places you go up in Canada where you just the fish are
they got ice over their heads for 6 months out of the year,
and then you come home and you go to your favorite lake and you get 5 bites.
Yeah, and it's good. It was a good day.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to bull catching 50 to 100 fish a day.
No, I got to go the other day, and we went and we were going to film a Dixie Jet thing just film some videos on all the spoons and different kinds and stuff. And whenever you have to go and catch them on a certain bait, it's always harder.
It is.
And we got all the film we need, and we caught plenty of fish, but it was hard. It was hard fishing. And I was like, man, I've not worked this hard to catch one in a while, because I went up north 2 weeks before before St. Clair, and I went to Champlain and St. Lawrence. So I've been just having a ball catching smallmouth for the past month. And then you come home and fish, and man, this is tough.
You should have that spoon video up there.
I did try it. I couldn't get him to eat it. But
Really?
maybe Champlain.
Huh.
Did you try drop shotting it?
No, that's probably what I should have done.
That's probably the problem.
Drop shot spoon.
Double spoon rig.
Double spoon rig.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They probably would chicken spoon, but I don't know.
You gotta throw that
heavy. You put the heavy spoon on the dropper.
Is that the Magnum on the bottom?
Yeah.
You put the ice cream scoop on the bottom.
Not a lot of people talk about it, but if you really watch close,
see, that's what we do, folks, here on Tuesday nights. Is we give up the juicing.
Yeah, these are the not talked about secrets.
So.
Guys,
notice he got real quiet, so I mean, we know we got.
Obviously, we hit a sweet spot there. Stephanie says, Cody, do you ever have problems with everyday fishermen interfering with your fishing, or are there rules on that? I guess kind of talking about maybe tournaments and how you, talking about it on the water. How
they
do you
are
work
on
that kind of
public
stuff
water,
out?
so you get us two characters out there in our John boat on a Saturday,
right?
On your hole.
Yeah, sitting on your hole.
There's no rules about that. I mean, it's like he said, it's public water, and it seems like we always have some crazy stuff happen. I mean, I had one time at Lake Fork. The first day I caught 18 pounds, which is not good on fork, but I was in good shape to get a check, if I catch another 18 or 19. But I caught them all off one place, and this guy watched me catch them there the day before. What do you know? Day two, this little boy's sitting there in a jersey and sits all day long, out there just having a big time. But I mean, we go a lot of places. Like I ran all the way out on Lake Ontario last year. Like I ran forever. I get to my starting spot, and I put the trolling motor down, and first cast I catch a big one, and I put him in the box, and I stand up and I see this boat coming, like from way across there, like this little John boat. And I stand up and I catch another one. I put him in the box. And by the time I stand up, that little boat's right in front of me, like right in front of me. Like I've got it on camera, like 20 yards, like where I'm catching these fish. And he looks at me and goes, "You're on my spot." And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, "You're on my spot." And about that time, swoosh, throws an anchor out right on the fish. And this old man, he knew where they were at. I mean, he threw his anchor out and he went to dropping live worms, and he's sitting there catching them too. It's like, oh, just kind of makes you sick sometimes, but you can't say anything about it,
I don't know what you can do about that. I mean, you got to, for somebody to have that much balls to come out there in a tin boat and drop an anchor on your spot, you're like,
but I mean,
right.
You can't even get mad at them because they don't know.
Yeah.
Like, they're just fishing. They don't care. I mean, it's nothing to them, They're not.
Well, he's probably going to go knock the sides off of him, eat him for dinner tonight.
Oh, yeah. He was boxing them. I mean, he didn't have any trouble catching them. I didn't know smallmouth like night crawlers, but they loved them.
Golly.
The bad thing about Ontario is too, there's these big guide boats, and I mean, I'm sure they have to know how to catch some, but like those guide boats will pull up right on you. And like I've got a video of them too, just idling like 5 feet from the front of your trolling motor, and then the guide's up there looking at this like 4-inch Lowrance, like he knows what he's looking for, and I mean they don't even look at you, they just idle on by until he tells them to drop.
Yeah.
Well, guys, just keep doing your thing.
That takes patience. That takes all kinds of things that aren't in my like that close to me. I mean, that's Kentucky Lake was bad back in the day. Fishing co-angler when Kentucky was hot, and they'd pull up on your boater would pull up on somebody. And so, God, I hope you know this guy that we're pulling up on, like.
And they don't.
Like
20. They'll set her down 20 feet from them.
Yeah, and like it's nothing, and just jump in there, and the old. And it's like, come on, guys! Like,
yeah.
Like, what do you do?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. I mean, if they're bass fishermen, that's one thing, because they probably do know better. But so many of these places we go to, and they're just fishing. They don't care. They're just having fun, and they just don't really know any better. So it's kind of hard to be all mad, because even if you get mad, they're like, "What are you doing?" They think you're the idiot,
Well, yeah, you got all them TV screens up there, boy. You should be able to find all kinds of spots, right?
Yeah.
You don't realize that you're 1,100 miles from home, and you had 2.5 days on this pond, and you found one school of fish. And by God, there's an old man in a John boat sitting there a Saturday morning when you pull up.
Anchored down.
You got bills to pay, but you're the idiot for trying to pay your bills fishing.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
Chris said St. Clair's his home lake on the Canadian side. You often don't see many people fishing for bass. It's a walleye, perch, muskie thing up there.
That's probably why it's so dang good up there.
Dude, that place is loaded with muskie. They were like big giant pikes swimming everywhere.
You got any muskie down in your area? Are there any lakes that have them? Okay.
Nope, just palmy.
Okay.
It's about the only place.
Palmy's got muskie in it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big ones or?
There's Fellows Lake in Springfield's got them too. Some pretty big ones. But just those little lakes.
Stephanie says, what's your favorite lake to fish?
I love home. I love Bull Shoals as much as anywhere. But honestly, if I could go anywhere to fun fish, I would probably go back to St. Clair.
Yeah, I've talked about this 100 times, but Mille Lacs, I got to go up to Mille Lacs a couple of years ago, and that was probably my favorite lake that I've been to as far as just having fun, catching really good quality smallmouth. And we were there, and I think it was first part of June, and it was fun. I mean, you just do what? Yeah.
Those places are awesome.
We weren't looking at them, but we were just fan casting, and man, right. All you need is a Ned rig, a drop shot, and a jerk bait. That's all you need.
Yeah. It's the cool thing about St. Clair for me was like they live everywhere, which is good and bad, but like you could just stop and catch a bass whenever you wanted to. And like some of those other places like Mille Lacs and St. Lawrence, it's like those fish like love to live on boulders and stuff. So you got to find targets. So they're not quite as easy to find, I don't feel like, but it's whatever. Well, it's just kind of whatever you like to do.
Yeah, we caught good numbers of fish. I mean, I'd say most days we caught 20 to 30 fish, and that was 8 hours of fishing. But you'd go, we might have caught, actually, we probably caught more than that some days. But there were lulls. There were periods of 2 hours or so where you didn't get a bite and you had to move. And like you said, they're not everywhere. You had to find them. They're in specific places. But once you found them, you could catch them pretty good. And it was, they seemed to be willing to bite. You just had to be patient and move around the lake. And a lot of it's got to do with the wind. I mean, there may be concentration of fish in a certain area, but if the wind's blowing in that area, you can't fish it. You got to go on whatever side of the lake that the wind's not blowing. And that's kind of your little section for that day. You kind of got to figure out where the fish are at in those little areas or big areas. That's a big old lake.
Yeah. It's just gigantic ponds, they just go on forever and not much depth change. It's really cool, but it's pretty hard.
Yeah. You talk about big muskie. That lake's got some whopper gators in there. I saw one I thought was a laydown. I've told this story before, but I was fishing with Ron, and Ron's had guided up there for 6 or 7 years, and I met him up there before he really got his. Well, actually, he was pretty busy, but he scheduled a week off so I could come up there and jump in the boat with him. And we're out there. I think it was the first or second day, and like you said, it's pretty flat. There's not a lot of depth changes until you get way out in the middle of it. So you're just looking at, there's just rock shoals, and you can see the bottom because it's clear. Your boat will be in 10 foot of water, and you can kind of see the bottom, and boat's moving a little bit. And I look over there and I see a lay down on the bottom of the lake. It looks like a big old log laying down there, and I'm flipping it over there. And I told Ron, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna see if I can catch one off this lay down. And he's like, there ain't no laydowns out here. I was like, yeah, there's a laydown over there. I'm looking at it. He's like, that ain't no wood. There's no wood out here. I promise you. I've been fishing here for multiple years. There's no wood out here. And it kind of looked like it was sort of moving, but we were the boat was kind of doing this, and that kind of makes it look like stuff's moving anyway. And next thing you know, I got a little bit better look at it, and it had come towards the boat probably 10 feet, enough to where I knew it had actually moved. And it was a muskie that was, it seemed like it was about the size of a beach ball, big around, and probably, 50 something inches long. And I kept flipping my Ned rig over there, but that thing was massive. I mean, it could eat whatever fell in the water. It was going to chew it. It was a crocodile. It was a big old fish.
Those things are insane. We went to Bemidji, Minnesota one year for a college championship, and it was like we were catching a bunch of largemouth flipping grass, and I was just going down this grass edge flipping away, and then I flipped in there once, and by the time I clicked my reel over, my line was like 6 or 7 feet out to the right. I'm like, holy cow, what the heck? And I jerked, and it was like a giant muskie. And then we ended up getting him in. And it was, I don't know how big it was. It was from my shoulder to the ground. It was a great big one on 65-pound braid and a flipping stick.
That's about the only way. I mean,
yeah, if you're going to hook one, you might as well hook it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you boat flip him too? Tell me you boat flipped him.
I would have tried. Dude, I'm telling you, that thing kicked my butt. I like to never got him in.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they were crazy strong.
We've got them about an hour away from the house.
Yeah,
we got a trophy muskie lake over
I
in
hooked
Illinois.
I hooked one a couple years ago on 10-pound test on a jerkbait rod. And it was actually January 1st. I was out there, and it took, well, I had it on YouTube. I mean, I had my GoPros going and stuff, and I think it took like 17 minutes or something to get it in, and same thing, man. It was just like, I was tired. I wanted to get it over with. It's fun for like 5, 6, 7 minutes. Then you just want to get your jerk bait back, and then you got to figure out how to get your jerk bait back. Once you get it up to the boat, you're sitting there looking at it. It's got a mouth like this, and
razor blades all around it.
And I'm scared to get. It's one of them deals where you kind of got to commit, or you're going to get hurt. You got to go in hard. You got to grab them, be firm. It's like my daughter. When I take my daughter out fishing, she don't want to really commit to grabbing the bass. I told her, just put your thumb in there and lock down, and just don't unlock, and you'll be fine. Well, she kind of hauls around and barely touches. The next thing you know, it flops and it goes all over the carpet. That's kind of how it is when you get a big muskie or a catfish or something upside of the boat. You got to commit and be fast. Have your stuff ready. Grab your pliers right here and grab a hold of that head and just.
You just got to know where to commit. But we know where to commit to on a bass. Like if he's got a face full of treble hooks, or he's got a jig poked through the top, like where to grab him at. But a muskie, there's not.
We just don't
have the experience to know where to strangle that one out.
That's like Ron when we catch them walleye at Mille Lacs. He knows right where to scoop them up. They'll slice you open.
Yeah.
They got really sharp gill plates. You got to be careful. But he just goes right in behind the gill plate and comes right up in the jaw and picks them right up. But
those go in the live well though, don't they?
Well, we caught so many of them. Actually, I think they're up there. They have kind of a strange limit. It's like one over 23 inches or something. Minnesota is really strict about their conservation and their fish laws. I mean, you go to any of those boat ramps up there, or most of them, they'll be, you got to make sure you don't have any bilge water in your boat, anything in the live well. When I was up there with Rich, we pulled up to some little 500-acre lake in the middle of this subdivision, and there was a guy sitting in a lawn chair. And before you launched, he came up and he looked in your live well, and he took a sponge and he sponged out your live well, squeezed it out, sponged it out, made sure that there was no water in the live well because they didn't want to transplant invasive species. So they take their conservation super serious up there in Minnesota. So I know their walleye regulations were kind of strange. I can't remember what the length was, but it wasn't like you just go up there and catch 5 walleye and take them home and eat them.
Apparently they're pretty good eating, from what I hear.
I think Mille Lacs is the weirdest. So I think I don't remember if you can even keep them there unless you're a native.
You might. There's weird rules. I don't know what they were. Yeah, it's not like Bull Shoals where you catch one down there at 70 feet deep and his eyes are all bugged out and you just throw him in the box and take him to the house. There's some good ones in Bull Shoals too, though.
Dude, when we were spooning the other day, we caught quite a few. We didn't catch really big ones, but we caught a lot of just decent sized walleye. I caught a stinking 12-pounder out of there in the wintertime once.
Dang.
And it's got some nice ones.
You got some big stripers in there too.
Yeah, we do. We're starting to get those big ones back again. Like every year you see them growing, like the main age class of them growing, and now we're to like those. There's quite a few of those, like 30 to high 40s, and there's a lot of smaller ones than that. You know, like a lot of 10 to 15s, but it won't be long, and we'll have some more of those like great big ones. You know, probably another 5 years, and we'll start to see some of those like 50 to 65 pounders again.
Wow.
I think the lake record is the state record too. I think it's like 70, 75 maybe.
I couldn't even imagine that pissed off fish fighting it.
No, we catch big ones on a rig. I've caught a 50 on a rig before. It's incredible.
Holy cow.
I tell you what, we got. So we have decent sized ones here. You know, mid teens to low 20s is big around here, and they're to me they're kind of like a muskie or a walleye. They're fun to catch that first one, but usually after that I'm done with them. Like just leave me alone, because they hang out in the same spots. They get to some of my offshore spots just like 2 weeks before the bass get there. And I'm all excited because I scanned over the top of them and I saw all these dots just stacked up perfect. And you make that first cast and it loads up and you're like, yep, that's not what I wanted today. And every spot you go on is the same story. So
I like so I actually helped the Department of Conservation. I think 2 years ago, they didn't have any way to track the bigger age class of fish. You know, they only had trackers in the ones they turned loose, like the small ones. So they got with me, and we ended up going out there and actually catching them on a rod and reel, and then they would implant transmitters on them. And I think in 2 days we got like 25, and they got trackers in like 25 nice ones. So that was pretty cool. And then, you know, I kind of got to keep up with it a little bit and see what they end up doing and where they go, and I thought that was pretty awesome.
So are they is their home range a wide? Do they move around a lot, or do they kind of stay in a general area? What was the pattern?
It's like they move a lot. I feel like they're just killers. Like they do a lot of swimming.
Yeah, that's kind of what we noticed around here.
Well, they have to swim to survive. They can't stop swimming.
You watch them on LiveScope and they're never standing still. They're always moving.
Yeah, they're nuts. Like if you ever see a school of something that you cannot hardly keep up with, that's what it is.
Yep. Yeah, they're hard to catch. You got to really lead them. That's if you want to learn how to lead a fish with a forward-facing sonar. That's the fish to learn on.
I guarantee it. You're not going to get many chances, and they're going to be out of there.
Yeah. Speaking of Rich, we were just talking about, he probably heard this. He's out there loading up the boat, man. Make sure you take that sponge and get your live well cleaned out, Rich. He's up there in Minnesota. Dana said he saw his first muskie today, flipping a beaver and a lay down, and followed it back to the boat. Yeah, man, they're notorious for hiding. I remember we were out at Kincaid. That's the local lake that's got the really kind of the record class muskie in it. I was out there with my brothers several years ago. We were just deep cranking out, way out off this point. We were way offshore, probably like 200 yards off this point, where it was just flattening out and getting ready to drop off. And we'd been drifting out there. This is pre Ultrex or whatever. And I'm reeling in my crankbait, and all of a sudden something just shoots out from underneath the boat and grabs that crankbait and just pulls my rod down in the water. And it was, like a 44, 46 inch muskie. And he'd been sitting underneath my boat, just using it for cover. Saw that little plastic bait fish swim by and just came out there and crushed it. But it literally, you hook a 44, 46 inch fish with probably 10 feet of line out, and it will just about pull you in the lake. And that's, I almost lost my stuff.
Well, see what I always giggle about the Kincaid muskie, because you have guys that are dedicated all day for muskie fishing. They're either trolling or throwing these giant baits around. And you talk to them at the boat ramp, it's like, what'd you do any good? It's like, I saw 3 today. Damn, I caught 4.
on a brush hog.
Yeah, flipping a brush hog. Like, what are y'all doing? Y'all need to change your tactics up a little bit. But man, those guys are diehards too. You don't ever, if you got a muskie fisherman, you don't want to catch one when it's above, 75 degrees. you know, there's certain times of year that they'll fish for them, and if you catch them outside of that, man,
they're pretty fragile. Those stripers are fragile too.
Well, the diehard muskie anglers are, man, golly, they'll chew you out up one side and down the other.
Slit your tires.
Yeah, they're worse than a bunch of bass fish.
They remind me of like glide bait guys, just out there gliding their life away. Yeah, I saw 5 today. How many did you catch? All 4 of them bumped it, but they didn't get it.
Yeah.
You
didn't figure eight.
I'm not going to say.
Figure eight
I'm not going to say anything because I'm on that glide bait with the LiveScope, and I relate a lot to spoon fishing. If you get on them, and they just knock the piss out of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to waste a full day on a glide bait. Like, I can't do it. I've tried doing it up shallow. I can't do the up shallow stuff. But if I throw it out there and I watch it go down to the school, and you watch 30 of them come up off the bottom to look at it at least, now I know that they're there.
They do knock the fire out of it.
But when they hit it, my God, they knock the right out of your hand.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, they're cool. I like them. I mean, they catch fish and they catch big fish, but I like catching fish too much to go out there and throw one all day.
Right.
Yep. That's how I am too. And I still keep them honest with it. I've been fishing it a little bit more, but I haven't fished it enough to know when to fish it and when to put it down, you know.
Yeah. I like it for showing fish. Like, you pull up to a spot and I still have a 32, but you'll scan across the spot and there won't be anything there. You throw that glide bait out there and all of a sudden 10 of them just rise up off the bottom. They're just sitting down there hunkered down. What
kind of glides do you guys throw?
I got a couple 6 cents. I got a couple Mollicks. There's a BPS one that I got recently.
I got one of the Spro Chad Shads a couple months ago, and
you've had some success with that, haven't you?
Man, I haven't actually boated a fish. I've had some smack it. I've been throwing that burrito around, but that's not really a glide bait. That's just a little bit bigger, soft body swim bait. The Dream Express Pinky Deluxe. It's a JDM bait. June Shoji makes it. It's a little bit bigger bait. It weighs probably what's that thing weigh? Like almost 4?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah,
4.
Almost 4. It's probably like 9 inches long. It's a little bigger. I've thrown that a little bit, but the Chad Shad's the main one I've been throwing. What about you? You got a couple that you like?
I kind of like. I've got 3. I got the only ones I ever throw. I throw the Bass Pro one. That's just recently since it came out.
The S Waver too. We've thrown the S Waver around quite a bit.
I think the S Waver is actually good. Like, that's one of, like, I like the S Waver.
Which size?
The 68.
Whatever the middle one is.
Okay, not the giant one.
No, not the giant one.
That'd be the 168, probably the middle one.
Yeah, like I don't know. I used to throw it, and I feel like I always used to catch fish on it. I haven't threw it in forever, but I throw that. The Rashi is good because, like, that's one, like, I feel like I get them to actually eat it.
Okay.
Smacking it.
That Bass Pro one's big though, man. It's
really tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only caught 1 or 2 on it. But, man, there's teeth marks all down the side of them. Like,
yeah,
they just don't get that one. They crush the crap out of it.
I've got one of the Arashis. It's still in the pack. It's in my boat. You just reminded me. I have never got it out. I've got it out and looked at it and kind of rubbed on it and admired
it. Do you
weight
yours?
I'm just starting to play with that. I haven't done that, like, hardly at all. But I don't know. The only one that I've ever actually caught a lot of fish on is the Golden Belt. Like, the Golden Belt and the Arashi are the 2 that I've caught more fish on than anything. And I feel like, but the only thing with the Golden Belt is it seems like you got to kind of fish it slower. Like, you got to fish it just a little bit slower so it don't roll. Mm-hmm. But I've caught more fish on it probably than any of the glides.
Now, does that one sink?
Yeah, it's a sink.
Okay. That BPS one that I got, I think mine it's supposed to be a slow sink, but it's more of a slow float. But what I found is on every one of them that I've put, I'll take like a little teardrop weight, like a
little drop shot weight, or
not a drop shot weight, one that actually has a ring on it.
Like a free rig?
Yeah, it would be called a free rig, but how we use them for catfish.
Oh, like a dipsy weight or whatever. Yeah. Catfishing weight. Okay.
But if you put a light one right on the front hook hanger and you twitch it, and when it pauses, instead of just like pausing, it like shimmies as it settles. And that's usually when you get your bite, is after that pause and it's just sitting there kind of shivering as it's falling a little bit. But I'm not throwing it around structure either. So
Right.
I'm just throwing, I say not structure, it's hard bottom, stuff like that, not big brush piles.
Not cover.
So
Right.
I spend a lot of money on them. I don't want to lose them in a damn brush pile.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I like them, and I've caught some fish on them, but I don't know. I like getting bites too much to just jack with it very long.
Are you throwing just bone or chrome? Do you keep it that simple when you do throw them? Or
No, I usually throw pretty ones. Like, the thing I like about the Arashi is it's got some transparent ones that are like real good looking, and like they've got one that looks like a bluegill kind of. It's kind of just green, but like a green transparent, and I really like that one. I've caught a pile of them on it. I don't feel like very many of them are, most of them are made out of wood and stuff, or different epoxies that they're not transparent. I saw like the new Chad Shads. Some of those are kind of transparent looking, it looks like. I haven't ever threw them though.
Yeah, the
real ones or the Spro ones?
I think the Spro ones are like transparent looking. I heard they changed the body. I heard a bunch of people griping because they weren't the same, made out of the same stuff.
You talk about griping, like you said, that whole community.
They're swim bait serious. They're way for me.
Yeah, they get a little finicky, a little touchy, a little snobby. Jay said he lost. He said, thanks for bringing up a sore subject. He lost $140 one at Kincaid Saturday. Pretty sure it was a muskie. Man, I don't even throw. The only glide bait I've thrown them there is that S-Waver 168 because it's like $16.99. The Chad or that Dream Express. No. I tell you what, when I got this is a couple years ago, I finally bought a the heck. It's not a gunfish, it's another walking bait. It's by Evergreen.
Shower blow?
Shower blow. Yeah. I finally bought a shower blow. I mean, I'm tight on that stuff. I kind of hesitant on buying just mega bass at times. I've gotten used to that. But then so buying a $17, $18 top water or whatever. Anyway, first day I went out there, this is 3 years ago, probably about 7 or 8 casts in, just working this grass line. This grass line kind of tapered out there about 10 foot and it started dropping off deep water. And I'm working this thing and it's looking good. It's the bigger one, the bone colored one. I got it on 50-pound braid. I'm ready for whatever. I get this massive explosion and it's a 42-inch muskie. So now I'm just like, please, I just got this bait. I mean, I just got it. I only made like 7 casts with it and I'm about to lose it on muskie. He's going to slice my braid. And I babied it and I got it back. But after that, every time I throw it and I felt like there was maybe a muskie looking at it, I couldn't relax and fish it right. So I only had like 1 or 2 other blowups, but I was too quick on the hook set. But man, them muskie, God, that's kind of like you go up north, you go to St. Lawrence River, and you got all those pike up there. I hear people just going through 10 frogs a day, and those pike just slash them up.
Right. I don't know. It's hard for me to just figure out exactly, like what size of glide that I want to throw when I throw one. So I don't know if there's I don't know enough about it to know if they're like right size or not. I pretty much I'll throw that golden belt and like a 9 and a 7-inch, and those are the only 2 I ever throw. Like as far as size wise, I throw a pretty much 9 and a 7.
I said St. Lawrence, I meant lacrosse. I was thinking lacrosse up there.
I was about to say out there on St. Lawrence, out there frogging.
Yeah, I got my ponds mixed up.
I'm just too damn cheap to experiment too much with them. Like, they look really good in the package, but I don't know if I can't go out and spend $1,000 on glide baits and you got 6 of them. Like,
right.
I can. There's a lot more useful things that I can spend that kind of money on.
I agree.
I mean, they are pretty, but the problem is storing them too. Like, there's not good boxes for these giant glide baits to sit in your boat.
Yeah, it's like an A rig. You gotta get a separate box just for A rigs. You're not mixing up your A rigs in with your crankbaits or anything else.
Hard for me to tell somebody that, oh yeah, you need to go buy this $150 bait.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do it.
Chris says, Cody, are you looking more forward to Champlain or St. Lawrence?
Probably Lawrence for sure. I haven't ever fished a tournament at Champlain. I got to see it for 2 days before our off limits. Whenever I went up there for pre-practice, but it was kind of high and the water was dirty from all the big rain having. So I don't really know much about Champlain, but the St. Lawrence, I really am excited for that. I love that place, so I'm excited to get back up there.
Yeah, I mean they're both.
I don't know why you wouldn't be excited to go to St. Lawrence, though. I mean,
yeah.
I guess just pray the wind don't blow us 100 mile an hour.
Seriously, like that's the thing that's scary because, I mean, I like to fish on the lake out there. I like to go to Ontario, and I mean, if the wind blows, I mean, you're just it'll mess your whole tournament up, you know.
Well, and yeah, do you risk it? Do you go out there when it blows? Like,
I mean, it just depends how big it is, I guess. Sometimes, like, if the water gets big enough, you can kind of run the troughs of the waves, and it actually gets easier to run, but it's really hard to fish. So it just depends what kind of beating you want to put yourself through.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do that at 37 years old. I don't think I want to go through that.
It's one of those deals, like in the river, it's kind of harder to see them, like on LiveScope and stuff. But it seems like you go to the lake and like, oh, there's 10. You know, there's one on that boulder. Like it's easier to see them and fish for them, I feel like, but it's just a lot harder to get.
Hey, we're going to do a giveaway here in just a minute, guys. There's a bunch of new faces in here. So the way the giveaway works is I'm going to make a reference to a Sasquatch, and somebody's going to guess a number between 1 and 200. Well, you're all going to guess the number between 1 and 200. Whoever guesses the number that Cody gave us in a minute is going to win a $25 virtual gift card from Baitworks. So keep your ears peeled. It's going to be happening really quick.
Hell, Frank's just as tight as we are, isn't he? He said he'll go swimming for a 4 or 5 out hook. He said he's going to fight that muskie back and get
Frank, I'm gonna get with Doug from Trieve. Or if you don't know about Trieve, seriously, you guys have heard me talk about it a little bit. It's a lure retrieval system it's got like the hound dog retriever that Jewel makes, and it's tied to 300-pound trout line, and it's a retractable system that sits up underneath the deck of your boat. Well, they made a new one that sits on your seat pedestal as well, but you just pull it and it's right there. And when you get your bait back, it retracts back up. You don't have this big old mess. It's Cody. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's, I mean, I'm not saying you need it, but I'm saying you need it. It's good. I think everybody should have one. It's called Trieve.
Unless you like spending money on $25 jerk baits.
It works on everything. It works on hooks, Ned rigs, or whatever. And it's so handy. Like before, if I got hung up with a Texas rig, I'm going to break it off probably because it's such a pain in the butt to take that big long pole that they make, that 18-footer or whatever, or, you know, you've got a lure retriever on an old reel and you got to dig it out and mess with it. It's just a pain. So you usually end up breaking it off. This thing's sitting on your deck. You just grab a hold of it, clip it on your line, run it down there, pop your stuff off, take it off and let it go. And it just sucks.
Essentially it's the same lure retriever that we've all grown up using, right? Like it's made by
Trieve.
Well, the hound dog.
It's just a Jewel hound dog.
Hound dog. But the retrieval system is what makes it the best, is because there's no mess. It's just you pull it up, knock it off, drop it down, and it sucks all back under the deck, and you're back to fishing. It's not tied around your reel handles and all that.
It's super cool. Yeah, Daniel's got the link to it, and Doug's a friend of ours. He's always on here. He's a Wapapello hammer down there, but he makes these. It's all made in America too. And I'm serious. It's something that it's kind of like one of them deals where it's kind of like LiveScope, you know, you look at it and you look at it and you look at it. And when you finally get it, you're like, man, I should have got this a long, long time ago, except this only costs like $50, you know.
It's a lot easier to buy that.
It's pretty sweet. It's super handy. There was another question back up there somewhere. Somebody had, the awkward moment of silence.
I know.
You gotta have one.
Yeah. So what do you do when you're not fishing? Or are you just always fishing?
Besides playing putt-putt at the beach.
I do a lot of fishing, but my favorite time of year is coming. I love to deer hunt.
Okay.
So it's just it's getting to that time of year where my brain is kind of getting really split up. You know, I'm ready. I'm starting to get really ready to start hunting a little bit, and that's kind of what I always look forward to. But I just had a new little girl here about 2.5 months ago.
That's right. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Going to get to spend a lot of time at the house with them and just enjoying ourselves.
Is that your first?
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts so far?
Dude, it's been awesome. It's been really good. She's been a real good baby, especially compared to all the horror stories every mom and dad tells you about, you know, before you have them. So far, she's been really, really good. She sleeps through the night pretty much, and it's been all good.
It changes who you are, and it'll keep changing as it goes on. It's a natural thing. You can't do anything about it. It's just like you feel like you're living for something beside yourself now.
And definitely makes it a lot harder to leave the house.
Oh yeah.
Did you use a big light up at St. Clair at all?
No, I didn't. I'm telling you, I pretty much spent my whole practice just kind of running around on 2D sonar, kind of marking grass edges and just kind of working up the edges of grass lines with just looking around LiveScope and just trying to get in areas where bass were living.
Yeah.
I lost my
train of
thought. Yeah, it went out.
I was going to ask, we'll ask you a couple more questions to let you go. What's your thoughts on, I was listening to Bass Talk Live today, and Panger was talking about, I think he was talking to Matt Steffen. You know, Matt Steffen just qualified for the BPT and made it. And he's been on here a couple times. Really good dude. But they were talking about the score tracker system that Major League Fishing has, and is it good? Would you rather know what everybody else has? I think this is an interesting question. Would you rather know as a professional angler while you're out on the lake in a tournament what everybody else has, or are you better off just doing your thing and not worrying about what everybody else has? What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it could kind of go either way, but me personally, I'd rather just know what they've got. You know what I mean? So, you know, like if they've got 20 and you've got 15, you're like, this is not the deal. I got to go practice, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it'd be pretty sweet. Like, say you're one leading the tournament or you're, you know, in second, you kind of know when you could lay off or something on day one if you needed to. Because, I mean, if you don't know, you just got to keep burning them.
Yeah. Yeah. And for TV purposes, I mean, there's something about the weigh-in. I love an actual weigh-in where, yeah, you got Bass Tracker, but people are sandbagging a lot of times, and it's not accurate. And I mean, it can vary. It can fluctuate 2 pounds. There's always some little bit of drama. And then if you cut it off like an hour before weigh-in, there's even more drama because stuff happens right there at the end. There's an afternoon bite that kind of happens, and there's something about that live weigh-in.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Like, I honestly, I wish that there was no such thing as Bass Live. I wish there was no such thing as Fishing Live. I honestly think that's the worst thing that's happened for the sport. Just for any organization to be playing it live, because when people watch it all day, they don't have to come to weigh in. They don't have to come out. You know, I feel like some of these towns that are paying for us to come are not getting, you know, all the people that would show up if they didn't know what the results were. Yeah, I mean, like you said, if they just looked at Bass Track, it would be close, but it's not going to be 100% right. I feel like it would be a lot more exciting, you know. But I grew up watching the TV show. I always couldn't wait till Sunday morning, and then it's like, golly, that's awesome. I love watching the show. And now a lot of these tournaments, it's hard for me to just go back and watch. You know, I'm not going to sit down and watch 8 hours live. Like, I got stuff to do. I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I wish they would turn Bass Track off. Like, if there was a happy medium, turn Bass Track off
at noon or something. Like
all day. I'm with you on that. I hate Bass Track. Like, I want the drama at the class, because I've been to a couple classics, and you know, you're sitting there and you already knew who won.
Yeah.
Before he even weighs his fish, you already knew who won because he had he had a
Especially
commanding
if he's
lead.
blowing it out.
Yeah,
If you got 3 or 4 guys that are within a pound, you don't really know exactly.
But on Sunday, let's be honest. Would you rather not know that, Cody was on day 3 and he made this miraculous run and came all the way from way down in the pack and dropped 25 or 30 on him when the average bag was 12.5 pounds? Like, that's the drama that I live for.
Right.
The Jordan Lee Classic back in the day where, he made that miraculous run at it and worked out for him. If we have Bass Track, if we have a camera in his boat, that story is not the same.
What are you
right?
talking about? Where his motor blew up or
Yeah.
whatever and he idled underneath the bridge?
Yeah, but he didn't have a camera. He didn't have anything going on that
Yeah,
day.
that was a great
So-
classic just because of that.
I enjoy the live part of it if I have time to watch it, but I don't want to know what you guys got. Don't tell me what you got. Make it. That's the allure of the weigh-in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie said, "Can they sandbag?" And you can absolutely sandbag, but isn't there some sort of
There's an incentive
incentive
for having an accurate
for
weight.
having an accurate weight, right?
Yeah, I think whoever has the closest to accurate weight gets like $1,000. But for some reason, it's not like, like it's the closest, no matter if they fish 2 days or 4 days. That doesn't really make any sense to me. I feel like if you should probably have to at least fish 3 days to get the incentive. Because if you fish 2 days and caught 4 pounds, and
You're dead on the money, right?
It's like, yeah,
That's like the smallest fish award in one of those
Right.
derbies.
right.
Bring a
You
little
got a
3-ounce bluegill or
A
whatever.
participation trophy.
I don't know.
Ron wants to know if you change your prop when you're running up there on the big water.
No, I don't. I don't really change anything, but I'm not always the most prepared guy out there. Like, I kind of just what I got, and I'm not always the most organized. I'm really bad about procrastinating, so I just kind of let it rock, and it'll be what it'll be.
I think Eli's got a little man crush on you.
Hey, Eli's awesome. He lives in the same town I grew up in, and he's a really good kid. I've got to take him on a fishing trip whenever I get back and get some time off.
Good deal.
Cool. Thanks for stopping by, Eli. It's good to see you.
He's commented a couple times, and
Yeah, man. Eli's a cool kid. He likes to fish, likes to hunt, and he's a super good kid.
now you bow hunter or are you just a gun hunter?
Yeah, I bow hunt a lot.
I got you. I just dropped my bow off at the shop, and I looked at my last set of deer tags. I tell you what, this is what kids will do to you. I looked at my last set of deer tags, and it was 2013.
Really?
My last set of deer tags was 2013. I pulled all my stuff out. I still have my same old tote. Pulled all my backpacks out, and I opened up one of them, and there sat my tag from 2013. It was a tag sandwich I didn't tag out, but fortunately it was in state, so they're only like $12 or whatever.
Right.
But I was looking at it, and I told my wife, I said, it's been 10 years since I've stepped foot in the deer woods. Now, I still waterfowl hunt.
Yeah.
But waterfowl hunting the last couple of years has been kind of crappy. So I think I've made the decision. My boy's old enough. He's wanting to take up deer hunting. So
That's pretty awesome. You'll step in the woods, the first old doe will walk by, and you'll be shaking like a little kid again. It's been so long.
Oh,
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I've been meaning to drop my bow off at the shop for, like 2 months, because I know he's getting ready to be really, really slammed, because we're 40 days
right now's
from
the time to start
40
getting your
days
stuff
from
together.
season.
Yeah,
And I haven't shot a bow. I shot it a little bit last year, but it's going to hurt, I promise.
Yeah, it will.
So
Yeah, Daniel's talking about those shows. I went back and watched some of those Bassmasters or even the FLW stuff, and man, they're good. I love them.
I do too. I'll just be sitting around and I go to watching them, but like since live started, I don't sit down and just rewatch the show because it's not the same.
No,
I don't know. I hate that aspect's gone because I love the show so much. I would rather there be no live and just make a show. Maybe put an emphasis on making the show come out faster. Maybe it comes after or something. But
they can do it within a couple days, or a lot of times they'll do a little short plug later on that afternoon.
yeah. So I mean, I those things. I know it's great. It gets a lot of people involved. They like watching it, and it gets a lot of views. And I'm sure it's good. And I think the competition between all the leagues, they kind of have to do it. It's just so they don't, nobody seems to be left behind. But just part of it. Stuff changes. It's all good.
Yeah, and another, and I don't know if it's an issue, but another thing that live is exposed is A, where the angler's fishing at, and B, what they're throwing. You can't really hide a lot anymore. I mean,
that's the worst part. If you don't think guys will watch that live and be about 3 o'clock, you are wrong.
Yep.
Maybe by about an hour after they figure it out. There's a lot of guys out there that don't care. They just want to go catch some.
Right.
Yeah, you get a lake that has a lot of landmarks, and you get some locals watching. They know exactly where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's got a map on live.
That's right.
They drop them little pins. It's got GPS on where you're at.
Yeah, like the iPad shows them right here. We're gonna. I don't know. I think they probably. I think they do their best to kind of make it not exactly where you're at, but still close enough.
Well, if you're on live and you're a local, and there's a bank in the background for 5 minutes, you probably have fished that bank.
Or if they got that little dot on the, when they're showing lay of the lake or whatever, and they got the guys stacked up on a ledge, and you got a general idea, you can go out there for an hour and a half and side scan, and you can probably find one.
Or you can probably just run to that ledge and see that there's 6 boats lined up on.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, exactly.
All right,
if you're sitting at the marina, you can just take off.
Right.
Yeah. That's kind of like when the lake goes down about 10 feet, just driving around and marking stumps and stuff that are on dry land. It's the same kind of concept.
Well, you get that big swing down there at Bull.
Get what now?
That big swing where water fluctuates a lot.
It does. It makes a big difference. But I will say probably the one positive thing about having live and stuff is there's not as many chase boats. There's not as many spectators just out there chasing everybody around and kind of messing stuff up. I know they don't mean to. They just want to hang out and see everybody, but it's definitely not as bad as it was before, I don't feel like.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being like classic 04, 05 when KVD, I think it was 04, 05 when KVD was on his big run.
When he had
7,500 boats, just like you're trying to idle out and you can't get through anything.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's incredible. That would have been super, super hard to make work. It could cost you $100,000.
Yeah,
more.
Exactly. Yeah. It cost you the classic.
We got all that prop noise. I'm sure some of those guys that got their graphs on.
They all do. I couldn't imagine underneath the water with 100 bass boats sitting all around you.
Yeah.
I appreciated your comment a while ago. I remembered what I was going to say when my brain left me. I said we need to make a t-shirt. I was going to say we need to make a t-shirt that says 2D's not dead. So, because Adele would be our biggest customer.
Yeah, he's still,
because 2D don't lie, right?
He still fishes off that 2D a lot.
I like 2D. I've always got mine running.
Yep.
Well, last time you were on here, you said you were coming back from a night tournament, and something ran across the road that resembled a Sasquatch.
True fact.
If
I lose, 3%. So just a heads up.
Okay, gotcha.
So if I just disappear, thank you guys for having me.
we got 3%. So let's give away something. We said Sasquatch. Let's get your guesses in here before we lose Cody. Any more sightings since the last one?
No, dude. I haven't been night fishing, honestly. This whole summer, we our little one came the last part of May, so I haven't been night fishing but one time all summer.
Cool.
Well,
we got a winner.
That was quick.
It didn't take long.
Jay Beffa.
Jay.
He's on Hot Street.
Good job, Jay. Send me your email, Jay, and I'll get it over to Brian tomorrow. And you'll get
somebody had to leak that.
Not us. Not us.
All right, well, let's wrap it up, man. You're on vacation. You got a young daughter, and wife in the background.
You got to go play putt-putt.
You got to go play putt-putt. So
I don't know what they've got planned. We'll see. Maybe they've got bad. Maybe go putt-putt. We'll see.
There you go.
Well, man, good luck these next couple tournaments, man, and appreciate you spending some time with us. And we'll have you on here before too much longer and touch base again.
All right, thanks, guys. See you later.
All right, we'll see it.
All right, that's a wrap. That was
That was a
fun.
good one.
Yeah, he's on vacation, so we knew I was going to try to keep it to an hour and just be respectful. He's got some putt plans. He's going to go out in town and play some golf with the family and stuff.
Did you get out this weekend?
Down in Florida? No, man.
You still over here?
No, wait. I did go. I went somewhere for 3 hours. I have not been fishing for. It was like 6 weeks.
Where'd you go?
I went to Murfreesboro. I wanted to go someplace different. Went over to Lake Murfreesboro. Man, that's a beautiful lake.
It is. You catch anything?
I caught 4 or 5 fish.
LiveScope or
No, just fishing, man. There's so much cover on that lake.
any big ones?
That was Friday, actually. Speaking of Jay, I think Jay probably fished that Friday nighter over there at Kincaid. And I didn't want to get on Kincaid. I just want to kind of go someplace different. Daniel's got Squatch Caves on his lake. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard that story. We had Cody on here. It's been a year or so, but he was fishing a night tournament on Bull Shoals. He was coming back probably 1 or 2 in the morning, and he comes around this corner. You know, Bull Shoals, anybody on here that's been to Bull Shoals, you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's pretty remote. There's just not a lot of houses, not a lot of traffic. And he's come around this corner and he sees something go over the guardrail and down a ravine down the side of the hill. He said it was taller than a man and it was a dark object and it was 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And he swears it was possibly a Sasquatch. And he went back the next day and the highway department had cleared that whole section, I guess a couple months earlier. Could be off a little bit on the dates and stuff, but there were no trees, no nothing around that area. So whatever it was an object that wasn't supposed to be there. And I sent you that.
I haven't listened to it.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good one. Sasquatch Chronicles. There's a new one on there. There's some girl down there in Kentucky that's out deer hunting with her daughter. And it's pretty good. You only got to listen to about 20 minutes of it. And you get the whole story and just kind of rehash it all.
Over and over and over.
Yeah.
Make it an hour and a half long show.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
That was weird. Both of our phones went off at the same time.
Jay's been stinking it up at Kincaid.
Yeah, Darius, I'm with Gabe. I haven't been to the lake in a while either, but it's this past weekend. It wasn't by choice because I had plenty of opportunity to go, but it's not a good time to. He is right. It's not a good time of the year to be fishing.
Oh, I go whenever. I just haven't had a chance. It's about to change though. We just put this house up on the market, and
and the fishing's about to start getting better too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was a perfect time for you to go through what you've been going through the last month.
Yeah, see, Frank knows what's up. He's probably seen 1 or 2. They're out there. Me and Frank saw a panther years ago. We saw a black panther back there by Bent Creek. This is pre-Bent Creek golf course.
Really?
Yeah, we were running around in those woods before Bent Creek was even there. It was just straight up woods. It was Wiley back then. There was no subdivisions, no houses, no nothing. This is Litz Park had just been built. That's when we were running around in those woods. Yeah. We saw a black panther.
It's a kitty cat.
No, it was a big kitty cat. Yeah, it was a 100-pounder, I think.
Stephanie says it's been tough this summer.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
I got nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, 2 guys that haven't been fishing in a long, long time.
Yeah. We need to get Ron back on here.
We do.
We
need to.
fish.
Well, he commented earlier. He said the fish were biting. He came on late, so apparently we need to go over to Egypt.
Yeah, I might go. I got Sunday and Monday off. I think I'm going to get out Monday. It's about time for me to. They're biting good. All right.
Deep or shallow, Ron?
I don't know how he caught them. Same way he always catches them.
On a hook.
Mm-hmm.
15.
Did you watch any of that? Did you watch any of that Invitational, the last one that Stephens won?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And we'll talk about this for a little bit, as long as you guys want to talk about it, since we still got 50-some people on here. Oh yeah, Drew's got a good question.
Jeez.
Let's we'll touch on that.
You want to touch on that?
Yeah, I'll write this down.
He says, "What do you guys feel about 480 boats in a high school national championship?" I'll give you my brutally honest opinion. That's given a participation trophy of the ultimate participation trophies. I think you should fish for as big as it's got or is getting. You need to fish it just kind of like a regional where maybe it's a state, maybe it's an area, but that boat field has to go down. We're not teaching our youth anything. We're costing our youth, and it's just anybody can show up to the national championship.
What lake
right?
was that on, Drew? So here's what I see when you have 480 boats on any lake. I don't care if it's Kentucky Lake or a massive size lake. You're going to have, what's going to happen is you're going to have all these people pre-fishing. The fish are going to be sore mouth. It's going to make the tournament tough. And when fishing is tough, here's a couple things. Fishing is going to be tough, and then you've got people that have found spots. A lot of people have found the same spots. It causes people to be rude, people to encroach on other people's area, and not other people's areas. You're going to have a couple people on a spot, and then here comes some more people, and it's tough, and they've only caught fish on this certain spot. It causes a lot of headbutting and stuff. And in my opinion, it kind of teaches the dirty side of tournament fishing. It's forces. I don't know that it forces. It just it aids in being like a disrespectful. There's supposed to be camaraderie and there's supposed to be respect on the water. But if you're in a high stakes tournament, even though it's maybe now they're not fishing for $100,000, it's still it's as
still prestige.
The most important thing at the time is the most important thing. Whoever you are, yeah, it's prestigious to yourself. It's going to make you do stuff that you shouldn't be doing, and you're going to get used to doing that. And
we talked about that
a couple
months ago with the Keith Poche deal. There's been a lot going on. It wasn't the Keith Poche. It was a smallmouth deal on
where, somewhere up north.
The big controversy with MLF.
Oh, that was Cayuga.
Cayuga, yeah,
right.
Thank you. Big stakes, high stakes, a lot of money on the line causes folks to do crazy things. And that's what our youth is seeing. Thanks, Tom. But that's what our youth sees out there. They see that it's okay for the pros to do that.
It's too many boats.
But I don't care if it's Okeechobee. I don't care if it's St. Clair. I don't care if it's one of the Great Lakes. And it's great for the economy, right? But it does, again, I'll go back to it. It just doesn't teach our youth anything. You're in a merry-go-round, and I hate to say it because I coach the youth of the world, and it's a damn participation trophy, and I'm not all about participation trophies.
Yeah, here we go. This is a great comment, Drew. Florida sends 50 boats out, or Missouri. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
State.
That's what I was going to say. You gotta cut it off somewhere. You got to cut it off. Everybody knows you got a 50-man team. There's 10 hammers on the team. Those are the 10 that need to go and
qualify for their state. Maybe
maybe even 10 boats. If you got 50, maybe 10 boats or something. Some of the younger guys, they get a chance to go with the seniors, and they learn. You don't want just the best going all the time because the younger guys don't learn, but maybe it's also motivation to get better too. There's got to be some kind of hybrid mingling going on. But
when we were in college,
that's too many boats, man, on any lake.
We would send guys to tournaments, but you had to qualify to go to that tournament. So that we may only take 2 boats out of our entire club in college to that tournament because we set the precedent that the top 4 guys in 2 boats would go fish, and we would have a couple fish offs and figure out who those guys were. And a lot of times it was just who could afford to go and who wanted to go, but most of us all wanted to go to those big tournaments.
That's how if you fish in a bass club that's affiliated with, they used to be the Federation. Now it's the Bass Nation, I guess. But you have a team, it's a club, and the top 6 or 8 or 10, you take an 8-man team, a 4-man team, 6-man team, 8-man team, 10-man team, whatever, to the state tournament. And there will be half the club didn't qualify. That's how I mean, I think that's a better system. Is you're going to eliminate a lot of the people, but you just can't take that
But
many
you went to the
boats.
state to go to a national championship, right?
Right.
And you didn't take your whole state team to the national championship.
No, you
You
have to
qualified
qualify
for the
right.
national
Right. You have
championship.
to move on.
If it's a prestigious national championship, there shouldn't be 480.
yeah,
boats in
Steve.
it.
Can you imagine?
No.
Can you even imagine? That's a 6-hour weigh-in, and then how many fish?
Well, here, how long are those fish going to have to sit in bags?
That was what I was. I didn't even read that, but that's what I was going to say. You know, we've had this discussion. You know, you take a bag of water out of the live well, and you put 5 fish in it.
Oxygen
There's enough
gone.
oxygen for a minute.
Yeah,
maybe. Especially if you have big fish. If you got some small fish, they're gonna be fine for a
Now,
little bit longer. But
I'll commend the high school tournaments that they are run by most of the big organizations. FLW
Sure.
or MLF or Bass are running these big tournaments, so they have the equipment, and those weigh-ins are spaced out. So it's not. Hopefully,
Right.
you don't have a log jam.
they have probably 10-minute flights. Probably.
Yeah. But still, I mean, you think 480 boats. I mean, first check-ins at what 2? Last check-ins at 9:30, 10 o'clock. I mean, it's going to be all afternoon into the evening. So
It needs to be addressed, and it just. I mean, look. Honestly, I'm not trying to. Every kid that's outdoors is a bonus, and that's good, Jim. They had a 3 fish limit, which is a lot better, especially in the summertime. I mean, I'm a proponent of. You know, once it gets to like June, maybe June to September, I think it's not a bad idea.
I think it's water temperature.
70 degrees, 75 maybe, or warmer.
I'd say
That's when
I'd say that 75, 80 and warmer, that's when you're really starting to deplete oxygen.
Yeah.
And you notice people that are mediocre about taking care of their fish now become terrible at taking care of their fish. Where if you're mediocre at taking care of your fish in March, you're not going to. I mean, you can survive. Those fish can survive.
It's really not like Ron. He had an oxygenator put in even his John boat. If you're a person that fishes tournaments quite a bit, that's maybe something you should consider. And if you can't afford that, the bare minimum, you got to do the ice and you got to do the G juice
and recirc
and recirc.
Yeah,
you know, recirc. I mean. You just got to do that. I put a bubbler. I don't have it in my new John boat, but my old one, I had an actual aerator that ran
like for a minnow bucket.
Bubbles. Yep. It shot bubbles down to the bottom of and then the recirc and then the ice. I would take a 1 gallon, a gallon of water, a couple of those, and I'd freeze them. And then I'd put those in my live well on the way to the lake. Then I'd grab another bag of ice. And this is for like a Wednesday night or 4-hour tournament.
But it's also the very hottest part of the day.
Sure, it is.
The water temperatures
are high 80s, low 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to cool that water down like 10 degrees. And you got to put the G juice, we call it liquid Jesus. That stuff has brought back fish from the dead 100%. But you got to put it in there before the fish start acting funky. That's probably the key. Before, it's kind of like when you're trying to stay hydrated. The biggest mistake you can make is wait until you're thirsty before you start drinking water. If you're
or wait till you stop sweating, right?
Yeah. You need to be drinking all the time from the get-go. And that's the same way with fish care. You need to get in front of it, not behind it. You shouldn't be trying to save that fish's life, trying to bring it back. You need to be creating an environment that's conducive to survival.
Well, let's be honest. If you saved that fish's life so you could go weigh it in and you didn't get that half-pound dead fish penalty,
it probably died later.
What's the odds that fish is going to live?
It probably died.
It's probably going to be floating tomorrow morning, and somebody's going to be at the boat ramp going, they shouldn't be having tournaments here because you're all killing all these fish. When in reality, you killed 3 fish in a tournament, and everybody took care of their fish. But
I've heard that a couple times at the local lake. We have a Wednesday nighter, and guys show up. The regulars. There's a lot of guys that don't like tournaments. It doesn't matter what lake you're on. For a lot of reasons. A, it creates smarter fish. You got the fishing pressure. You got people hooking fish, and they get harder to catch. B, they show up in the morning, and there's 45 boats in the parking lot, and they just want to go fishing because they're retired. They've got to find a place to park, and then they go out on the lake, and there's people everywhere. But the main thing is because they pull up those mornings, and they see dead fish because people aren't taking care of their fish. That's something that, and I've killed fish. I mean, I have, I've gotten a lot better at it since I've kind of got a system.
Still happens though. Like,
it still happens.
I guarantee you the Elite Series guys, there's dead fish every day of every tournament. I promise you.
Right.
And
you hook one in the tongue, they die a lot of times
at no fault
reason.
of your own, right? Like
right.
you hear when they go up there to these big tournaments, a lot of them are throwing 3-pounders back because they don't want to take a chance of that fish dying in the live well, and then they can't because they cannot call once that fish has expired.
Right. That's the bass side.
So you can't. Now you got 4 3-pounders in your live well, and 2 of them died. Like you're stuck with 6 pounds.
Yeah, but that's the biggest thing. So what you were saying, there are things that happen that you can't control, like hooking a fish in the tongue, or the fish swallows a tube and gets it all the way down, and you got him gut hooked. Those fish probably aren't going to make it. But that's just kind of one of those things that happen. The things you can control, you should try to control. And it's something we don't catch a lot of really deep fish around here. But another thing that we should all know how to do is fizz a fish, because that fish doesn't have to be 20 feet deep. You think that a fish that you catch that's like 12 foot doesn't need to be fizzed, but sometimes they do. If that fish was out in 20 foot and it slid up to 12 to feed for a little bit, its bladder may not have been adjusted, and you catch that fish.
I've caught fish in less than that I've had to fish.
Yeah, exactly.
I've caught topwater fish that I had to fizz because they came up out of a deep area.
Yeah, they'll come up 15, 20 feet to hit a topwater.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's the length of your boat.
And you're catching fish, not just the fizzing part. The water temperature down there in 15 feet deep is
a lot cooler.
I've seen a study on that. There was a guy that took a biologist that took thermometer or whatever on different varying lengths of string and did water temperature readings, but it can be like 10, 15 degrees cooler down there around 15, 20 feet around that thermocline. So you pull, let's say that fish is down there in 20 feet. Maybe he's fine as far as his swim bladder, but he's in water temperature that's 75 or let's just say 78. You pull him up to surface temperatures that are 90. Yeah. That fish is going to go in shock. So when you put that fish in the live well and your live well has no ice, no recirculation, it's surface temperature, that fish is going to go in shock and die.
But it's not surface temperature.
It's even warmer. It's way warmer.
It's 95, 100 degree water.
Because it's got the sun beating down on it. Yeah, you're right. Good call. But if you've got that water cooled down, it's going to be closer to where he just came from. He's got a better chance of survival.
I think the other biggest thing about fish care, and we'll get off of fish care, is the V2 vent systems.
Yep.
Ventilating your live well, getting
the
acid and the bad juju out, that makes a huge difference. Even if it's like, I don't have them on my setup, but if you're running down the lake and you just kick that cooler or whatever your system is open and it starts flowing air through there, those fish are a heck of a lot more healthy at the end of the day. I know you've got a similar setup to that V2 system.
Yeah, I got on Amazon actually, and the V2 system is phenomenal. We've had Menendez on here before, and he talks about how that's really changed his fishing. He doesn't lose any fish, and
doesn't have to use any of the
no G juice or anything, no additives,
no liquid Jesus.
But I took a it was some sort of a circular vent. It was basically the same diameter as the V2 vents, and I put it in my live well, and it I think it helps. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
So there's cheaper alternatives to doing that, but what you're doing is you're creating airflow. The gas and the urine, the ammonia that's built up from the fish defecating in the live well is released. If you ever open up your live well and you got all those little like foam and stuff, that's what that is. That's stuff that doesn't need to be in there. That's not healthy stuff.
That's toxic to them.
Exactly. So if you've got some kind of vent system, that kind of gets washed out, especially if you got circulation going in there. It just kind of gets pushed out when you're running down the lake. It's forcing. The theory is to have vents facing this way and then another section with vents facing that way. There are 2 circular vents. So as you're running down the lake this way,
forces
air, and then that other air comes back out the other way and flushes the system.
The hardest part about those V2 live well vents are cutting like 2.5-inch holes in your fiberglass lids.
It's tough. Yeah, I had aluminum, and it was tough enough on aluminum. And I tell you what, fiberglass, let's see, I put the recessed foot pedal tray on my Ranger years ago, and fiberglass is kind of hard to cut. So you're going to go through some blades, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to drill a hole.
Well, you almost have to have a buddy there just to like, to coax you into doing it.
Right. Somebody to counsel you and rub your shoulders and
because
stuff.
Because you got one shot at really screwing everything up.
Yeah. So. It's a little bit harder to patch fiberglass. You can do it. I mean, aluminum, I think you just get a plate and you can work around it. Mm-hmm. Fiberglass is a little more tricky.
Yeah.
But anyway,
it's all repairable because it was all built.
Yeah, but whatever. It's still going to fish the same. It just won't look as good.
Yeah. It's offset a little bit.
Yeah. So. That's why you buy a $10,000 glass boat and you have to worry about it. Somebody's already beat the crap out of it. Yeah. Yeah. I know Ron is a big proponent on fish care, and we've talked about it. He's talked about it on here before, and it's a big deal. This is a resource that we do have to take care of. And I'm not accusing anybody. I've done it a bunch of times. I've killed plenty of fish, but
I think about our local lake, right?
Right. Small lakes.
You and I have fished this lake. I've fished it for 30 plus years, and so have you. Like, since I was a kid, you fished it since you were a kid. And
it's got more and more pressure.
Absolutely. Like, I used to go over there on a Saturday in June, and there might be 10 boats in the parking lot. Now, if you find a parking spot after 8 o'clock in June, you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
Like, it is just packed. And that's great. There's more people into the sport. There's more dollars being spent. But what that means is there's more pressure. There's more tournaments. You know, there wasn't near the amount of tournaments at Cedar 20 years ago as there is today.
I'd say even 8 years ago is when you started seeing more and more tournaments.
Yep.
5 years ago for sure. You look at the regatta permits. I've got a screenshot. I can't remember if it was Scotty Edwards that sent me a DM a while back with the regatta permits on Cedar. I took a screenshot off of it, and I've got it, in my photos, and I look at it every once in a while. And you look at there, I haven't counted it, but there's probably 50, 60, 70 tournaments in,
absolutely.
in a 6 month period.
You're talking about like at the DNR, the IDNR posts of all their tournaments,
or whatever.
You can see where their where tournaments.
So for people that don't know, we're talking about an 1,800 acre lake. This is a 10 horsepower limit lake. And it has a Wednesday nighter from the end of May all the way through like the first part of August. It'll have a Wednesday night tournament. Sometimes there's a Friday night tournament, and there's a Saturday and a Sunday. There's 2 boat ramps. They allow a tournament to go out of each boat ramp. Now there is a 20 boat max per ramp, supposedly. But you've got 20 boats going out of the north end, 20 boats going out of the south end. And that's a for sure thing almost every weekend on a Saturday.
I would say
Sunday.
From April to October, there's at least one out of every boat ramp.
Right. So that's the kind of pressure that's on an 1,800 acre lake. And it's made a difference. It's made a difference.
I'm a tournament fisherman. And I fish tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just talking out loud.
We've discussed this before, and it's not the popular opinion, but I'd like to see some of our smaller lakes go to the same rules that Egypt has.
Right.
Between the holidays, no tournaments, none, nothing, not a bit, not a question in my mind. And how much better does our fishing become? Because for one, that's going to take a ton of pressure off that lake. Because when it's good in June, it used to be good in late June.
Okay, check this
July.
out. Here's a prime example, and if Ron's still on here, he knows what I'm talking about. There's a lake called Marion City Lake that was public, but it got bought, and they made it into like a hunting club and a fishing club. So it's become private, right?
Yep.
So it didn't see any public pressure for probably a year or so. It wasn't really that long. I got to fish it right before they closed. Dave Holm, he's not on here, but he invited me. He's like, you got to go check this lake. And I did a video on it. It's like a year and a half old. We fished it. He'd been whacking them on that lake. And we had a pretty good day on that lake. it was a good enough day to let me know that there were some pretty good quality fish. And he sent me plenty of pictures the months prior with a bunch of like 4 to 5 pound fish. But that lake was bought by somebody private, so there was hardly anybody fishing it. It basically became a giant farm pond that you had to have permission to fish, and they weren't letting you, maybe if it was a brother-in-law or a cousin or a family member, but there was very, very, very little fishing pressure. They had a tournament this spring, and the weights were stupid. They were phenomenal. Like, do you remember me sending you that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was in the 30s.
There were like 6s and 7 and 8 pounders being weighed in. It was unbelievable. Well, a lake like Cedar has that same potential. And I'm not saying shut all the tournaments down and go private, honestly, but there is something to be said about fishing pressure and not catching the fish. And it makes you, you know, here's the devil's advocate. Play devil's advocate. It makes you a better fisherman, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you can figure out how to catch those fish, you got to move, you got to think and stuff. But
absolutely, Stephanie struck a nerve for me.
Okay,
she said last year, guy was fishing a tournament and putting fish in a cooler, lost a 5 pounder. Coolers should not ever be allowed. It's on how it's set up. And I'm just going to say that because I fish out of a cooler and I've lost 1 fish in like 4 years.
So tell Stephanie how you have your cooler
set
up.
My
so
cooler
it's not just a cooler like you go and buy at Walmart.
Recirc system, but the cooler is the absolute best option for my setup because I can take it in and out of the boat, but I still got fresh water coming in. There's a pump that's on a timer that is always running inside there. There's an oxygenator that's always running inside of there.
And it's insulated.
And it's fully insulated. So now I go back to even let's go with your boat.
My boat. I got an aluminum live well.
You have an aluminum live well.
It's hot.
That is
very hot.
Not insulated.
No.
No. And you don't lose a lot of fish because you take care of your fish.
I try.
But
a cooler is actually better.
I lost the one fish that I lost, and I pained me because it cost me the tournament. Was in October. Not heat related.
Yeah, you just put that.
So what I believe happened, because the way I caught that fish, I was short line 65 pound braid, and I hit that fish with everything I had to get it up and out of the grass. I have a feeling that I did some structural damage to that fish. I hate to laugh about it, but I hit that fish really, really hard. And he was not happy when I got him. He wasn't swimming well when I brought him in the boat.
But the cooler that you're so back to Stephanie's comment, the cooler that you have has a bilge pump in it that's recirculating, right? Mm-hmm. Is that how it's set up?
Yep.
So you've got the recirculation, so it's recirculating the water, and then he's able to pump fresh water in.
Yep.
So it's the same concept as an actual live well, but it is insulated. So a cooler, if it's set up right properly for tournament fishing, is a very good option. But if somebody just had a plain cooler like you go to Walmart and buy, and they're throwing fish in there, and they're expecting them to live, no, that's
not without proper circulation and all that.
Yeah.
I've seen. I can tell you the horror stories of tournament anglers sitting in parking lots and listening to guys. And I hate to say it, brag that they lost a full bag of fish, threw them back all the dead ones back in the lake, and restarted at noon. Like if you're a tournament fisherman for any amount of years, you've heard that conversation go on at any boat ramp, and it is absolutely sickening that they're losing.
Yeah, Stephanie's comment. She says she can tell a difference in the way Cedar fishes the last 4. You're 100% right, Stephanie. It has changed.
And then double that, and then double that number again, and then double that number again.
Yeah.
To Ron's comment, you guys have no idea how good Cedar used to be. 8 pounders were semi-common in the 80s. You would try and cull out 5 pounders. That's insane.
My PB that is on the wall at my house where we did the live streams, that was an 8.4 that I caught out of Cedar, and that was caught in the 90s. You know, that was caught in and funny story, that was in March, and I was slow rolling a spinnerbait out over 20 feet of water in the standing timber.
How big was it?
It was 8.4. It was in Carbondale Cove.
I know exactly where's that because there's only one area that's got 20 foot of
standing timber. Yeah, you know, it was an 8.4.
It's funny.
I caught 6 pounders, and I sucked. I didn't know what I was doing back then.
I caught my.
I was not the fisherman I am now.
My PB is just a 7, and I say just a 7, and it came out of Cedar.
Was it in the 90s, early 2000s, maybe?
Early. I was just driving, so I graduated in 05, so it would have been 02, 03.
There's still 7 pounders in there. You know, Hammy's caught a couple this year. You know, so they are in there, but they're more unicorns than they are.
Mine was stallions. You say yours was slow rolling a spinnerbait in March. Mine was slow rolling a spinnerbait in February.
Really?
And it was like, I remember that morning we were bundled up, freezing cold, and they came up schooling in the back of Pomona, and I caught her in like 1.5 or 2 foot of water.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Mine was caught slow rolling deep, and I was kind of hung over, and that's why I was slow rolling. I don't tell anybody this. Probably the first time I ever told this publicly, but yeah. So you really want to slow roll a spinnerbait, stay up till like 3 or 4 in the morning, and then get up at 5 and
that's
go
like
fishing.
Fishing that jerkbait in December too, right?
Yeah, Jay. So one other thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap this up, and thanks for everybody hanging out here with us. Is the invitational that Matt Steffen won. Congratulations.
Qualified.
Yes, for the VPT. But it was a lock deal. And it was probably some of the most, I don't know if anybody out here watched it. If you watched it, chime in the comment section. It was some of the most exciting fishing that I've seen. So the top 6, I believe, in the tournament had locked through. Into pool 8, I believe. So they weigh in on the other side of the lock that they're in.
Just on the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit of a run. I think it's like I want to say it was a 5-minute run, maybe a 10-minute run, but then there was a no idle, pretty significant idle only.
No wake
section. No wake. I'm sorry. So they have apps. They have barge activity apps. And apparently the app was showing there were no barges coming to the lock. They have a predetermined time. Okay, so they weigh in at 2:30. They need to be through the lock at such and such time. Well, a lot of the guys start showing up, and these are the guys that are the first place guys, second place, third guy. You got Tom Monsur, you've got Lopez, you got Steffen, you got several of the guys. Yeah, pull 7 to 8. So there's this barge. When they show up, basically this barge is in the lock, and it was totally unexpected. And the drama starts building. So back up a little bit. These guys are fishing. They have no idea what this is going on. And you've got the commentators. You got Marty Stone and Chad, and they're saying, "Oh, there seems to be a little bit of a problem. We've got
out on the water.
We've got a barge out on the water, and it's making its way up towards the lock. This is going to be a problem for the anglers on the other side of that lock. You don't want to be on that side of the lock. They really pump.
They make the drama good.
They're excellent at doing that. So it's building up, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of getting interesting because I was starting to watch a little bit of it. It was good TV, so to speak. They say good TV. There was a point where I thought it was over, and it made me sick to my stomach because I was to see an angler. Steffen had the weight to win the tournament, but he was on the wrong side of this concrete dam. There was nothing he could do. Well, long story short, the Lockmaster. If you haven't listened to BTL today, Steffens was on there and they were talking about.
Do you have any problems with speaking of BTL? I'm sorry, sidebar. Like it's not updating on my podcast.
It's not.
You have any problems with that? Nope.
They just really haven't had much lately. I think
is today the first
7 of them updated all of a sudden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't looked.
There was a little bit of a glitch. But Monsur, he's the
grizzled
river rat. He knows everybody. He made a phone call to the Lockmaster and they got it sped up and they made it back. But that section where knowing that the top 6 guys were on the wrong side of the lock and there was nothing they could do. That was very interesting. I mean, I hope some other people watch that. That was good.
I'm
TV.
sure we're gonna have Steffen on in the near future again. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. I almost got a hold of him, reached out to him, but,
But-
he's been so busy.
But I mean, you got to think about like you got to be crapping your pants at that point, right? Like your livelihood's on the line right here. What you've worked for all your life is.
Yeah, that's a good question, Jay. He pushed them through a lot faster than safety required because there are some guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposed to get them in. They're supposed to make sure that they're grabbing a hold of something, they're secure, and the lock needs to be kind of flat. Not just while they're in there coming in. There needs to be low turbulence and stuff.
Right.
You can't just because when those barges come out, it's nasty in there. It's super dangerous. And I remember when the guys were going in there, they were talking about how it was kind of rough.
How big of a lock was it? How big of a change was it?
I think it was a pretty good sized lock. I don't know how how much of a drop it was, but it seemed like it was. That's another thing you get in
Were
the
they
lock.
going down or up?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not sure. You guys know out there. I know it was a long idle.
I don't know if that makes a difference. It just seems like if I'm going down, it would be faster than if I was going up.
I don't know. I don't know if it's faster, if it fills up faster or what. But yeah, that was super intense. Have you locked through? Okay, it's weird. I've been through several locks.
I've never.
It's weird. It's squirrely in there.
Is it?
Yeah. There's your boat's just kind of shifting, which is why you should hold on to something.
Right.
It's not gonna like suck you under or anything. But you're
Well, it's not
banging.
gonna suck the boat under, but it's just the boat you're gonna.
You're swaying.
Yeah.
You're swaying, and it's banging you into the side. 4-foot drop to 8. Okay. So Jim's familiar with that area. So that's not a lot. That's a quick lock.
Yeah, quick.
I mean, I'd say that's like
it's not like
15-minute turnaround or something.
It's not like a 40-foot lock.
But it also depends on how big the lock is,
right.
The volume of water that they're going down. Okay.
So you guys that have locked out there, is it faster going down or up, or is it the same time? I don't know the answer to that one. That's interesting information to me.
I was at. I'm not even. I want to say it was Old Hickory. Fishing a Bass World Sports. This is a long time ago. Championship or something. I think it was Old Hickory. And it seems like we locked through. I could be wrong, but it seemed like I've been in one lock where it was a huge drop.
He said he was dropping it.
Yeah.
It was dropping before it even closed.
That's why they shut the cameras off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can do that. They can push them through pretty fast. And that's what it took to get them through. Because without that lock master kind of putting his job on the line, so to speak. Yeah, it's a big. I remember them talking about it. It's a pretty good size lock. If he didn't put his job on the line, so to speak, and stretch the rules slightly, they wouldn't have made it back.
Well, 4-foot drop. I mean,
that's a lot of water, though.
Keith Poche it. It's only a 4-foot drop. Just
the wall's not 4 foot. The wall's like 100 foot.
Send it.
Yeah.
Oh Lord,
that was cool. If you guys get a chance to go back and watch that little section,
I gotta get my BTLs caught up. I gotta get my Sasquatch. That's not another giveaway. But I gotta get my
check out the one.
I gotta get my Sasquatch Chronicles caught up.
And it was in Kentucky too, and it happened like just a couple years ago.
I'm not. I don't want to plug anything, but have you been listening to any of the Zal Dangerous stuff?
Mm-mm.
Him and Trait had Zona on last week. They got KV. They got the initials on tonight.
Really? Oh, they're killing it. Yeah, they're killing it.
Go out and start this.
Silly.
Go and watch some of them.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of them.
They're
good.
They're good.
Yeah,
they're really good.
I saw the one. I watched the one when they had.
Well, I don't send my 10 boat anywhere. Like that's my baby. I'm no.
Who
I'm
they
too
had
much of a chicken shit to do that.
Was it Matt Herron that they had on a while back?
Yeah, they've had
that was a good one.
They've had Zona on. They've had Mercer on. Zona was a really, really, really good one.
Yeah.
I finished watching that one today, or listening to it at least.
I like watching. James Watson has been on maybe Duncan a couple times.
Mm-hmm. He's good.
Yeah, I like the guys that talk about the insider stuff, and they don't hold back too much.
That's what Zona did today.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
He let it,
and they're walking a thin wire too.
Oh,
because they're company men. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Zona went back to the split and talked about the split and like the turmoil and not talking to folks and losing lifelong friends over it.
Yeah. I like the conversations where it feels like you're at a bar and you've got a few drinks in you and people start loosening up. And then the next day you're like, hey, what did I say? And should I have maybe not said what I said?
Who heard
And
this conversation?
and then somebody recorded it. I'm in
Yeah.
trouble. So they kind of lay low for a little bit, and they're a little bit worried.
Well, like her, love her, hate her, Trait has no filter. And she'll just come out and
Just ask the questions.
oh, she like threw Jacob Wheeler under the bus
Really?
and like ran him over. She can't stand Wheeler.
Okay, I'm gonna
So
check
yeah,
that
you
out.
got to check it out. It's good.
We need more of that. You know, we need
Well,
more of that.
JT Kinney said it best. What we cover up, what should be covered.
Yep, that's
And-
right. He's another one. Yeah, that's right, Steve.
Well, she asked questions that would. Yeah.
She's not throwing softballs. and-
Well, she's not, but she doesn't. She's not held by anybody.
I think he is, Ron. I can't.
I agree. I want it more than anything you know.
Man, I was pulling so hard for him.
At the last one.
God, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody was, of course, but what a way to end a career if he is ending a career. But to go out and hey, second place is pretty solid too. But it just doesn't have the ring as first place.
Yeah, but for the initials to, how much fire does that light back into him? Because he hasn't been up there for a while.
Right.
So now,
He had a really good taste of
do
it.
you go out number 2? You're the initials. You're the best that's ever played the game. Do you go out number 2? Like,
I don't know.
do you want one more classic? Do you want one more blue trophy?
Yeah.
Do you want to sail
Of
off
course
into
he
the
does.
sunset with Zona and Mercer because they're your northern buddies? Like,
But what it takes to get to that section, it's kind of like all these guys that are fishing the Bassmaster EQs today. You
well,
know,
so
this
he
year.
wouldn't have he more than
He's
likely
got the exemption
would,
rule,
but he
I'm
could
sure.
he could do the legends.
He can go wherever the hell he wants. He's KVD.
Yeah.
I mean,
All he does is call and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fish next week," and they go, "Okay."
yeah, he could be on Storage Wars, or he could just pick whatever the most random Shark Tank or whatever he's
Right.
going to be on there. It's just
Jim says he's done.
Jim says he's done. He says he's done. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, and I would say he's still like
Involved,
Say
right?
most want to go out on top. Where was that? Oh, wrong one. Yeah, and I think he is still on top. Maybe not as far as he's a combination of everything that's on top. Like his marketability. He's got so many baits have his name on them. He's got mad respect. He's sought after from every podcast, and you never see him on there.
He's KVD. I mean,
He's KVD. He's the initials. Yeah.
Right.
So he is still on top in that aspect.
you know, it's from young to old. I would say if you're even like the Guggen generation.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you hanging out with us, man.
But
Next Tuesday we'll be on again.
the Guggen generation, they even know who KVD is, but some of those guys don't know who like our heroes are, like the Nixons, the Denny Browers, the Rick Clones. You go to a tournament, and the big one for me is like we went to the Classic, and to see my dad, like,
That's right, Jim.
just get all in his feels about seeing all of his idols. Like he didn't grow up. He grew up with them. He grew old with them. And now he gets to see them in person, and he kind of fanboyed, and I got a kick out of that. But it was all of the old guys, but everybody knows who KVD is, right?
Yep.
Like, at the end of the day, if you're anybody, even if you're not even a tournament guy, you know who.
But I tell you this, more people know Bill Dance
Yeah,
than KVD.
sure, true.
You kind of got to be sort of into fishing a little bit to know KVD. But even if you've walked down the aisle at Walmart, you've seen KVD's name in the fishing department on a bait.
Mm-hmm.
You may not exactly know who he is, but you've seen that name. It's going to ring a bell. Yeah, that's right, Jim. So he's, what if he wins heavy hitters, or if he wins Red Crest? Red Crest would be the icing on
I don't
the
think
cake.
heavy hitters. I don't
That's
think
not as big a deal as Red Crest is the
Who
one. he
won
wants
heavy
to win.
hitters last year?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
I have no idea.
Who won Red Crest last year?
Was it Connell?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean,
And the Classic,
yeah,
like those
Christie,
names.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so the red crest would be, so he's still got a chance to like officially go out on top, whatever. But he's going to be involved, like Jay was saying. Mike Russell's got his number 1 speed dial. He's still going to be
Christie
heavily.
was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
It was last year. No, that was this year. Wasn't it him and Welcher?
It was like because he won out of the Express. He's in the Skeeter this year.
Anyway.
Oh God! Who?
Defoe.
That was heavy hitters. Who won the Classic last year? I don't have good enough service to look it up. My goodness, we're supposed to remember these things, bud.
It's an awkward moment of silence.
I know.
It's hard to keep track of everything. Red Crest is at Gunnersville. Gussie. Duh.
Oh my gosh, yes. Smallmouth.
Jeez, I forgot about that. Little Demiki rig. Strolling.
Bobby Lane won Red Crest, and then didn't Bobby Lane quit? He went out on top.
Yeah, he's kind of.
He's
trying to get back to the elites, and it's been a little bit tough for him.
Yeah.
Hey, it ain't no walk in the park, man.
I wouldn't want to do it.
No.
Would you?
No, hell no.
Like even all the disposable income in the world, me and a buddy were talking about this the other day. If I had like just disposable income, time off work, I would go fish the NPFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like 6 tournaments spread throughout the year, fishing
a month.
Yeah, fishing for $100K.
Thrift Run Red Crest. Yeah, it's a good. I mean, it's the best payback, really. I mean, one of them for sure.
Will P.
BPT's pretty good though.
Will P. He puts him up there with Tom Brady only for us fish heads, right? Like nobody else in the world. If you're not a fisherman, you don't know who.
Yeah, well, Brady's got more reach, but I mean,
I could care less about football, but I know who Tom Brady is.
Right.
He played for the Packers back in 2008 or something like
but
that.
But in fishing in the tournament, yeah, I see what he's saying. 100%. Yeah, he's maybe someday we'll get him on here. I'd like to get him on for. I mean, I doubt that we'd be able to get him on here for 2 hours or even an hour, but it'd be nice to have him on for 20 minutes or 30 minutes just to shoot the breeze with him for a little bit, just to kind of halfway meet him. I mean, I've met him at the Toyota Owners Tournament. That's one good thing about those Toyota Owners Tournaments is you get to talk, shake hands with Ike, with G-Man, with
somebody's still awake at least. Thanks, Andy.
Packers, where'd that come from?
I said Tom Brady played for the Packers in 2008.
Oh.
He didn't play. He never played for the Packers.
Yeah, you're thinking of Brett Favre or something back then.
That was way back. I don't know if he was even playing in 2008.
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of football either.
I don't either. I watched some college football.
I tell you what, I watched a good movie last night or 2 nights ago. I was up till like 1:30 in the morning. It's one of those deals where it was 10:30.
And the movie was on TV.
The thing with TV that I hate. So right now we have limited amount of data that we can blow. So we have 100 gigs of data, 100 gigs of internet data per month, which sounds like a lot, but it's not. I mean, you can burn that up.
Not with 2 children.
You can burn it up in a week. I mean, not even doing anything. So we haven't been able to stream YouTube. I haven't watched hardly any YouTube, which I when I lived at the old house, I watched a lot of YouTube.
Hold on. Tell me you didn't leave the house and go to the old house to stream.
No, it wasn't that bad. No, I'm not being that bad. I'm not a crackhead or anything. No, but so I've been watching. We have an antenna, and we get theoretically we get 41 channels, but only 20 of them come in at any given time,
and they're not the same 20 every day.
Not the same way. It fluctuates. So I mean, I'm living off the land, so to speak, and it's okay, whatever. But so there is a channel that has random movies, and when it comes up on your channel, it doesn't even tell you what the movie is. It just says movie, so you don't even know. I don't even know the name of the movie.
It's like
you have to wait till the credits.
It's like some of those hotels that we used to stay in back in our BFL.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Exactly what it is. But I started watching this movie at like 10:30. I was just gonna watch 30 minutes of TV before I went to bed, and it was Jet Li. Dude's bad. He's a bad mofro, and it was Kiss of the Dragon. If you guys haven't checked that out, go check it out. But it's a bang 'em up kung fu knocking. He walks into this dojo and there's like 100 black belts, and he knocks them all out. He's a bad mother. It is good. It's a very good. he goes over to Paris to find out, to kind of take down this drug ring, and the cop ends up being the kingpin of the drug ring. And he's in a country that he doesn't know, and he his best friend becomes some prostitute. And
so you watched it from the get-go?
I watched the whole damn thing. So I was up till 1:30 in the morning watching it. Had to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. It was good.
Stephanie, we're at his father-in-law's house.
Yeah.
This is not his house. I haven't. So I do the podcast with him every week, and I haven't even seen the inside of his new house, just pictures.
Yeah, we'll go do a tour sometime next couple of weeks over there. Yeah, I'm working on that, Stephanie. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, we're going to start digging that ditch come spring when the ground's real soft.
Blood of the Dragon. Yeah, I know. I've reached out to Matt, Stephanie. One time he was supposed to come on here, and we had a line of communication now, but he might be on them too much now for.
We gotta wait till
for us that aren't
turns the hat around.
For us that aren't on them, yeah. He's gonna have to get off them, maybe. Nah, he's just busy guy. You know, the more you grow, the busier you get. So we could just drive down to Kentucky and wrangle him up, tie him up, get him in here, and
just go
have a sit down with him.
Just go to a single wide.
That's true.
You just Kool-Aid man it and just bust through the wall.
What is he, like the mayor of the trailer park or something?
Something like that.
Yeah. I like this backdrop. It looks.
I like that iron rail. That's pretty cool. It goes all the way upstairs. That's like, so that. How can I do this? That right there goes up and around the hole in the floor.
Yeah,
cool.
There's a lot of really cool antiques in this house too. Mm-hmm. Sometime when we have more time, I'll show you. There's a lot of history. So my father-in-law is an auctioneer, and he's got all kinds of really, really cool antiques. A lot of horse-drawn stuff that involved horses and farming, and
I get distracted easy. So if you saw me looking around tonight, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things to look at.
South Jersey. I dropped mine this year. I was still on the AT&T plan, unlimited, had unlimited everything, and I switched to Cricket, and I don't have unlimited hotspot now, but I saved like $200 a month though. Yeah, Cricket's nice. So here's the deal out here. We had Cricket for probably 7 years. It's $125 a month for 5 lines, and it was great. But when we moved out here, it was spotty for whatever reason. Yeah, I mean, I got one bar service right now. So we went to T-Mobile because they offered the 5G, and we're getting way sideways here, but they offered a 5G internet, and that's the only internet that I could get out here. And the internet works pretty good. We just have a limited data plan, but we switched over to the actual cell phones. Yeah, I wish. I know. I'm on the list. Honestly, I not that we're really digressing. Satellite's the way to go. If we ever had enough satellites in the sky, satellite's the way to go. What's the Elon Musk Skylink? The Starlink, yeah. Starlink. You can't get it in our area yet. I can't get it here yet. It's a 9-month waiting list or something to get it. Our neighbors were over 12 months to get theirs. Yeah. They have it, and they freaking love it. Right. But I've known multiple people that have signed up, paid the money, were on the list for a year and a half, never got it, and then requested their money back. They got their money back, but just got. It's like a $90 deposit or something, and then you have to buy. $600 deposit. No, it's $600 for the stuff, the equipment. Okay. But it's a $90 deposit to get on the waiting list. It's pretty expensive, and then it's still like $120 a month. Mm-hmm. It's really, really good for rural people, but it's pricey. So this Netflix has got a 5G, or not Netflix. T-Mobile has a 5G router, and it's good. It works just fine. But back to the original rant that we were on about Cricket versus T-Mobile. We got to Cricket I couldn't stream anything on the phone, and it was like basically useless to even have. We could call, but that's basically all we could do. So I got T-Mobile, and T-Mobile is awesome right here where we're at. I mean, it depends on your relationship to the tower, but where I'm at right now, in T-Mobile, I can watch YouTube, whatever, Netflix. I mean, not Netflix, but I can watch YouTube on my phone, and there's no lag. There's no streaming. See, I looked into T-Mobile too for the same reasons, to get the hotspot, the 5G hotspot. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason. Literally, if you draw a box around the town that the little municipality that I live in,
It's a dead zone.
It's the dead zone. It's like blacked out. There's nothing there. So, and
Yeah, fiber.
Same way with Cricket 5G. If I'm if I'm down at the pond, which is 20 yards from my back deck, that's where 5G. That's where I switch towers at. I go from 5G to LTE right there. It's crazy.
Andy says satellite goes out during a rainstorm. I've heard that too.
True.
Yeah, fiber's the way to go if you can get it. I don't like Spectrum at all, but that's the best internet that we have. That's the only option we have right now. If fiber came to town, I mean, some of that fiber's like 1,000 down, 1,000 up. I mean, that's like smoking. We got 300 megabytes here, which is pretty dang good.
That's what we have here.
Yeah, it's actually, we've got better service right now than we did at our other house.
Are we
because
Wi-Fi
they
right now?
upgraded it. Yeah, we're Wi-Fi.
Oh wow.
It's pretty solid. Yeah, so the way the fiber optic works, I talked to a couple different people about that. They get grants from the government. Most of these people that go out, these companies that go out in the rural areas and install fiber optics. Yeah, you're right, Stephanie. Cricket does use AT&T towers. But they have to get grants from the government to cover that. So when I talked to the lady from GoSimo, she said they were waiting. If they would get grants from the government to expand into our area, they would move their product that way. But until that happens, it's not feasible for them to run however many thousands of feet to fiber and only get $80 a month. You know, it costs them $20,000 to move that product that way.
Well, and especially for us country people, if you're on the wrong side of the road, if you're on the wrong side of the subdivision, if you're on the dead end, they may not run it to you. They may just stop right before it gets to you. And that's where we're at. We're in a small, older subdivision, and I doubt we'll ever see any kind of internet out there. So
yeah, it's just there's some things about living out in the country that
I don't mind it.
They don't mind.
So
yeah, that's we Citizens is our electric company, and I called them to see if there was.
They don't have it.
No, not yet. A lot like Will says, if they're running new power, they just run the fiber optics with the power all at once.
Yeah, but if you're in an old subdivision that has old power, they're
right,
not running new power to you.
So I would say like a new subdivision, they're going to be running that stuff. Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up, man. Thanks for. We still got 30 people hanging out here talking where we're ranting about like internet. That's awesome. We appreciate you guys. You guys are
absolutely
diehards, man. Good luck out on the water, everybody. We've had some pretty good temperatures here lately.
It's supposed
a lot
to be
of rain
tomorrow.
It's nice. I mean, it's
this morning was
really, really nice. It's a great break for August. That fall bite's going to be happening pretty soon.
Once those water temperatures just start tipping,
the days are getting shorter.
Yeah.
Like when I left my house at 7:30 to come over here, the sun was sitting around top of the tree line already.
Yeah, which I hate that.
I hate it, but it also makes those fish start getting slowly aggressive.
We are not doing an all-night stream.
I got to work in the morning. I wouldn't mind doing that sometime. You could sleep while I ramble on for an hour, and then you jump up. Mark, thanks for hanging out with us. Next week,
what happens when it's like one person on here when we're doing an all-nighter?
I don't know. We just talk about probably cryptoids, UFOs.
I don't know if I can talk. I mean, I can talk a long time.
We talk about government conspiracies. Talk about
you know what we haven't done in a while? Solo show, just me and you.
We're kind of doing that.
I know
we kind of had a half and half tonight.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in a while. But we need to get back on the water so we can actually talk about.
Yeah, and I want to get Ron on here. I don't know if Ron's still on here or not, but Ron, I'll get a hold of you in the next couple of weeks, man. We'd love to have you back on here. That's always a good stream, and he's on the water all the time. So, that's it, folks. Thanks for hanging out, and please come join us next week. I do have a video dropping Friday. It's a really good one. It's sentimental. It's me and my daughter, Sophia. We had an amazing time out on the lake. Caught a ton of fish. And there's nothing better than taking someone that you care about fishing and having a couple schools of fish that you've kind of left alone for those special days and putting them on those fish and catching them. And then that person having probably the best day of fishing that they've ever had. That's what
It's fun,
that's
isn't
what this video coming out Friday is about. So I think the people that follow the channel will enjoy it. If you're looking for a tips and tactics video, I mean, there's a lot to learn on it, but it's not geared towards that. It's more about spending a day on the lake with somebody that you really care about. So that'll come out Friday, and then I'm going to try to slowly start getting back to some more regular content. It's just, I've been working my booty off for the last 6 months.
Sometimes you got to take a break.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
It's been good too.
So
it's been good.
all right, guys.
All right. Later. See you guys next week.
Peace.
Tight lines.